This episode contains topics that may be disturbing to some. Ben shares his experiences in the army, openly and in detail, which we are extremely grateful for. If you have any history with trauma or PTSD, then discretion is advised. In this episode, we're joined by Ben Stoton, first and foremost a war hero. He went from commercial fishing to the army and ultimately back to sea fishing. A gem of a bloke with a really interesting story. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Tuna Gear podcast. I'm Andy. Normally, you would have a right old lump sat next to me, but unfortunately, Danny couldn't make it today. I'm going to be nicer. There's no bumhole waxings going on. So we've got Aaron with us. Aaron started doing all my videography work. Trying, just about managing it. Loves his fishing. So I thought, right, you're perfect. Team Suzuki?
Yep.
What else?
I forget.
You're terrible. We shout out Suzuki.
Extra Tough, a few others, yeah. Elliot Man
the
Watches, Bits and Bobs.
Who are the decks?
Oh, Sea Deck, yeah.
Yeah, the Sea Decks. Anybody else?
Yeah,
This is your
sorry,
grand
mate, you threw me right on the spot here.
right, you're done.
I'll remember that and I'll post it.
Yeah. We'll dub it over the top. So our guest today, Ben Stoton.
Yeah, that's it.
The Amputee Angler. Loved your stuff.
Thank you.
So when we were going through this and trying to find guests, my go-to was YouTube. And as a fishing junkie, my main consumption of content is fishing. Like I don't really watch anything else. It all revolves around fishing. So I'm just consuming people's videos all the time. So I was watching all these different guys and watching the fish, and I thought, I've got to start reaching out to some of these guys because the stories behind how people are fishing, why they're fishing, their love of fishing, and then there's stories behind that again. I thought, right, let's reach out, let's get you on. And you've taken a hell of a drive to come down today as well.
5 hours today, and I am so appreciative to be here as well. This is an awesome setup, and I think what you're doing as a whole with the whole podcast thing is what is needed in the sea fishing industry. It's there. I think Jake touched on it when he was down. The carp angler's got it down to a T.
They have got it down to a T.
You are now setting the bar for podcasts, and I think it's...
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take that all day long. The thing with the carp... So we have just nicked the carp fishing model. We'll give our secrets away. That's what we've done. We've looked at what the carp fishing boys are doing, and they've nailed it. But it's very I don't know if one-dimensional is the right word, but it's they're having the same story about the same fish on the same lakes, with the same bait, with the same rig.
It is one-dimensional.
Yeah, with the same people falling in a lake, or they've got the odd story about a spooky occurrence, but they're all catching the same. There's only the same big fish around the country. When we were warming up, just chatting, you were talking about you never know what's going to turn up in the sea, and there's so many lads doing so many disciplines of sea fishing. I think it opened it up more. And what we've done with the podcast as well, we've had my mate on who's got a carp bait brand. We had FFS Lures.
Right. It's a mouthful.
Tom Moyer. I can't say it. My dyslexic brain can't deal with it. He does like culture bait, basically the soft plastics for freshwater fishing.
The little crayfish.
Yeah, that's it. That sort of stuff. We've had him on. What other disciplines have we had in? We've had Dave Lewis on talking about big game stuff. Like we've had some of the tackle shop boys. Mick Ward came on, and I'm trying to. Again, we touched on it when we were talking. When you go into a tackle shop, because we're all sat here massive advocates of your privately owned tackle shops. When you go into that tackle shop and you're stood in the queue, or you stood on the racks trying to buy some stuff, and you just start chatting to the guy next to you. This is where these conversations come out.
Chewing the fat.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many lads like you have your disciplines of sea fishing, but I'll be pretty sure that your social media feeds are full of all different sorts of fishing, aren't they?
Yeah, I try to be a bit of an all-rounder. It's very cliche. Everyone says I'm all-rounder, but we spoke about it. I grew up on tench fishing, and then we'll come on to the backstory of commercial fishing and stuff in a minute. But I try and do it all because the sea is so temperamental, especially lately. Yeah, you can't get out on the boat all the time. If you're waiting around for a window to go on the boat, you'll be waiting a long time. It's been 5-6 weeks up my way, certainly. So
Really?
yeah, there's the odd window here and there, but when you've got kids and life and the rest of it gets in the way, if you haven't got that discipline to be able to go up the river, and we were just talking about bass fishing, weren't we, up the river, or catching grayling or whatever, where it's not weather dependent, then you're going to be sat around twiddling your thumbs for ages. So I try to do a bit of everything where I can.
Do you get the same buzz from all of it?
Yeah, I don't care what I'm catching.
Just happy to be next to some water,
Don't care.
rod in your hand, trotting a bait, dropping a lure, doesn't matter.
All about the game.
Okay?
Don't care what I'm catching. It could be the army thing in me, the hunt. I don't care what I'm catching.
Yeah.
Whether I'm LRF fishing for gobies or I'm catching big ass pollock, conger eels or whatever, I don't care what it is. I just want to have that bend in a rod and know that I have planned out my trip, used the baits, the rigs, I've gone there and it has worked. I do not care what I'm catching.
I think that comes back, we've spoken about this in one of the early ones, that comes back to the whole caveman thing.
Hunter-gatherer.
Yeah. You've got to get out the cave, you've got to go in, what's in that valley over there?
Yeah.
You know, I've got to go and find something, I've got to provide for a family, I've got to do this. I think the modern world we live in is dulled that on a lot of people.
Yeah, massively.
They're quite happy to sit there and stare at Netflix all night.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah, they do.
and they do.
I'm not going to call him out on it because I'll get in trouble, but I know somebody who just goes home,
Yeah.
him and his missus get home at the same time, they have tea together and then they just sit on the sofa. And he's sat there watching Love Island or Strictly or I can't sit on the sofa more than 5 minutes. My ADH brains just starts
it's
twitching
scary,
around all over.
knocking about, yeah.
I've got to be doing something. I disappear out into my garage and start tying bars or
If I'm
just
sat down at home, I'm on Navionics.
Yeah.
I'm
Strolling through
on-
the-
hunting marks out.
I am a geek when it comes to rec. So there's a website, and I did a little video on it. Recsite.eu. You can go on there. It's got every rec on the south coast.
What's it on your Facebook?
No, on my YouTube. There's a little video on my YouTube, and it's basically just an overview of the website. But it's a 40 quid a year subscription. It's nothing, but it's got the details of every single
Is it
rec.
better than Rec Finder?
I've never used RecFinder. I use Recsite because it's what I'm probably a bit stuck in my ways. But you can use Navionics to go and find your wrecks. But I'm so geeky. I want to know how it's sunk, how big it is.
Yeah.
If any divers, I use dive.
Yeah, see, Rec Finder do the same thing. It will tell you what it was. I think it. What sort of boat it was, when it sunk, possibly how it sunk. But then
So much information. To
a lot of the divers use Rec Finder as well, and they're
Yeah.
putting, actually, it's not this longitude and latitude. It's actually this. in
updated
this.
positions.
Yeah.
But what you'll get from that as well is how much like in depth, because I'm a big planner. Like, if I'm going out on a trip, I know exactly where I'm going. If this wreck doesn't produce, I know exactly which one I'm going to. I know the name of every single wreck from probably. That's me. So I know all the names. I know how it sunk, the dates, if I can be that geeky. But what that tells you is, if it's been torpedoed, for example, we got a lot of World War I and II wrecks
we got
done
a lot.
my way. If it's had a torpedo slam into it, most people go, it's been sunk by a torpedo. Well, I think that must have a big hole in it for eels.
Yeah.
Is that on the port side? Is it on the starboard side? Is it on the stern or is it on the bow? Where am I anchoring? I'm going to anchor where the hole is. If I didn't have that information, I could go out and I could be anchoring the side and it could be a solid steel wall. The eels might be smelling my bait, but they might be trying to get through a steel wall. Whereas if I'm anchored into the hole, my bait is drifting into the hole, the smell, they can come straight out.
So on that website, do they update if it's like broken up? Or,
Yes.
Because a lot of them now are changed.
Has it got a scour?
Yeah.
2 meters deep? Is it sand? Is it shingle? Shale?
Has it got a what? What was that word you used?
Scour, hole. So when a boat sinks, obviously it goes down, depending how it went down and how fast it went down, sometimes it will drag and it will create a divot in the sand.
Like the
And what
Titanic
you'll
did.
get, yeah. So what you'll get in that scour, and there's a couple down my way, where there's actually a lot, because depending how you're experienced or how you set up a wreck, some people go straight up to the wreck. And then as soon as you're at the wheelhouse, your weight's down, the wreck's there and you're done. I will always set up tide and I'll have a fish in, because sometimes fish are in front of the wreck, they're behind it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if it's got a scour and you can link it in with Navionics, start your drift at the front of where that divot is. That's a fish holding feature.
Ling pit.
And you get, we don't get that many ling up our way. We do get the odd one. It's one of my targets. But like black bream especially, if there's a big scour or bass, sometimes they're not even on the wreck. And those boats are fishing the wreck, and I'll be out fishing them 2-3 to 1 because they're in that scour, because that's where the tide starts running. The tide starts running there, not down here where the wreck is. So I use that wreck site to really sort of build my picture up of what I'm fishing. And I'm quite geeky with it to the point where I know quite a lot about the mark I'm fishing. So if Jake's with me, where are we fishing, Ben? Oh yeah, such and such, it's torpedoed and it's this big, and Yeah, and it's just, I find it fascinating. That's why I like the underwater stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that's where the underwater stuff came from? 1 minute you're trying to learn about the ships, and you're like, hang on, can I have a look at them while they're down there? I mean, we can talk about it now if you want the underwater stuff, or we can come on to it later, but it's just... We can jump around where the conversation goes...
Fine,
wherever you
The
want.
underwater stuff came about when one of my sponsors, Simpson Marine, one of the things I said to him was, when you get the reps in, I said, let me know. I want to come down and I want to meet the reps. I want to say, this is me. I fish for Simpson Marine, just so I can start building up my own.
So what does Simpson Marine do?
They're a boat yard, but they're also one of the best tackle shops now, I think, on the South Coast. So
have they done that because they've got so many fishing boats in their marina? So they're a boat yard and a marina?
Simpson Marine in New Haven. So it started off there was New Haven Angler, and going back to our conversation about tackle shops.
Yeah.
The guy was getting older. He couldn't get with the times. He didn't expand. He had 10, 15-year-old rods in there that he was still trying to get top money for. Braid that had been sat there for 10 years that if you looked at it, it snapped.
Yeah.
And he ended up folding. So everyone was coming down, because this is right down New Haven Marina. Everyone was coming down into the boat yard to launch their boats and going, well, can we buy some bait? Can we buy some tackle? So they've had the foresight to go, well, there's a gap in the market now. We've got the boats coming in and out regularly. We're supplied.
So they like a slipway where you can launch in there.
Slipway, you can. They do this. So where they do well is they do the boat engine servicing, they do the boat storage, the boat launching, the tackle, the chandlery.
They write the theme tune. They sing the theme tune. They
Literally
do
that.
I love models like that. Somebody business minded has sat there and thought about that.
Well, the yard's been there. His two sons own it now, but their dad had it before they had it. So it's well established. But now they stock all the hooks, the lures, the bait, the rods, the reels.
The right stuff.
So going back to the underwater stuff, I met one of the reps from Pure Fishing. It was Chris at the time. It's now Kevin. And we were talking, and I was giving an opinion on some rods. And he was like, what do you think? And he was obviously taking on board what I was saying. He said, you do any underwater stuff? And I said, well, I want to start putting a GoPro down to sort of just see what the bottom's like. I said, but it's square. I said, so you can't really drag that because it will tumble and roll. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't ask for anything, didn't know he had anything to offer. And then I came away, and obviously being a rep, he'd been in there to sell gear to Simpsons. And then Bronzy, one of the guys in there, phoned me up the next day and said, well, look, this Chris he wants to give you a Water Wolf underwater camera. And I was like, okay, cool. I said, what do you mean give? He went, no, he wants you to give it. No prerequisites as to what you got to do with it. But obviously play the game, go and get some footage, work it out. I was like, cool, happy days. So I got it, I played about with it, ran it over the sand, the ground where I wasn't going to lose it. And I was looking at the footage, and it just from the very get-go, I knew it was something that I wanted to incorporate into not only my filming, because that comes second to anything. The fishing and the enjoyment is above all else, anything that I do. But I actually found myself finishing a trip. So you tie your boat up, you wash it down, you go home, and for most people, that's it, trip over. But with the underwater, and you might have the same sort of opinion, is your trip carries on when you're home, because you're looking at the stuff you filmed on that underwater camera. Yeah. So I would get home, say hello to the missus and the kids, sit down with a cup of coffee, and I'll be there for another 2 hours, scrolling through the footage.
You find that gemstone. You get more of a buzz from that.
Because you haven't seen it live, have you? You've now got to go back over all the footage.
You don't know what you can look at it out at sea, but I try not to because I don't want to, because it will affect my instincts. I'm a big instinct fisherman. Navionics is great and the rest of it, but there's no app that will teach you knowledge.
Yeah.
And I still like building my own. Where are the fish going to be at this time of year or this time of mark or the weather conditions? So I try not to look at it at sea if I can help it. But I got home and I remember doing it one day, and I thought, I had a turbot chasing the bait is what it was. And then as the turbot was coming up to the bait, a cuttlefish came out and got to it first. And that was it for the whole thing. It was just a cuttlefish. Oh, yeah. And the turbot was trying to get it. And I was like, I was turbot fishing that day. So I pulling my hair out. And I was like, but I never would have known that had happened had I not looked at the footage. So then I started to think, okay, cool. Well, what's on the Rex? Risky game because it's a 150 quid camera. I know I got given it, but it's still got a value to it. And I thought, well, how can I set this up to go over the Rex? So I thought, well, you've got to do it as a standard sort of boom and whatever setup. But straight away I was like, well, I can't have a normal 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 foot trace because what I want to see is the fish taking the lure.
Yeah.
Or I want to see what's on the camera.
So do you have your camera on your main line looking down, like above the leads?
I fish it exactly the same. So I get it's one of the most common questions I get asked, and there's no secrets of me with any of my underwater stuff. I don't keep it secret. So I've got the niche. I'll help anybody out. If someone messaged me yesterday and said, "How do I stop the water wolf spinning?" And I said, "Well, have you got the weight at the bottom of the camera or above it?" They said, "Oh, we're fishing like mackerel feather style with the weight at the bottom." I said, "Well, then the tension is on the camera. If it's above the camera, that's slack. You haven't got the tension. It will stay straight. Oh, I didn't think of that. So I don't keep that secret. I'll happily share anything. So what I do now, and I'm always getting asked, and if I put a video up of the lure, like, because I film the sidewinders obviously with it, and a pollock will smash it or a bass, or sometimes what will happen is they come in to attack it and they spot the camera, and you think they're stupid, but they ain't.
They spook off.
They ain't. I put a video up on my Facebook. It's quite a way back now, but a pollock comes in to attack the lure, and it stops, and it moves above the lure, and it's jamming against the tide, and it looks at the camera for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then just drifts away like that, because it knew the camera was there. And I was there going, oh my God. And someone said, oh, you should fish a 10-foot trace. You're fishing your traces too short. And I had this conversation with Dave Mordecai actually as well. He mentioned it. He said,
shout out Dave Mordecai, one of my favourite humans in the world. Yeah. I love that bloke.
I've never met Dave.
Lovely bloke.
But he's someone who I already respect as a fisherman because you just can see he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I've never met him, and we've had a couple of conversations.
Hell of an angler.
Yeah,
right across the board.
You get that. And Dave, if you're listening to this, or you might mention it to him, love to meet up, have a fish and a chat at some point. He's just someone I've got respect for just because of that, just because of the game. Yeah. He's so good at what he does.
Yeah. So his attention to detail.
It's just, yeah. So he said to me on one of my posts on the Small Boats fishing page, he said, why do you fish the lure so short? And I said, because otherwise I don't capture what I want to see. I'm not fishing to catch fish. As weird as it sounds, when I've got that camera down, I'm not fishing to catch fish. I'm fishing to see fish.
Yeah. How short do you have if you had to cut your boom down?
70 centimetres. I have the...
So just over 2 foot, isn't it? Yeah,
you have the boom with your weight, and then you can have... Your line after that doesn't make a difference because the camera, the filming end is there. From the lens, 70 centimetres, I found, probably about the length of that microphone, to be fair. So really short. Any longer than that, it starts getting a little bit out of shot and you've got half the fish out of shot or whatever. So yeah, about 70 centimetres. And I said, well, I'm not filming to catch fish. I do catch fish as a bycatch. But what I want to see is what's down there. Yeah. I want to look at the wrecks because it's interesting and I find it fascinating. And yeah, that's it. And it's revolution. I would say it's revolutionised my fishing in the sense that I look at fish and my lures differently.
Okay.
So differently now.
Because of the way they swim, the action of them, the way you retrieve.
The tail action, the colours. I did a video on the Candy Kings, the glitter Candy Kings when they first came out. It'll be on my Instagram somewhere. You can pull it up. It'll be on there somewhere. And what I didn't realise with it, and I think you covered it with Jake or one of the other videos, you look at a Sidewinder Candy King and you think, what the hell does that look like in natural life? Pink and orange and whatever. Yeah. But at depth...
Good colour.
At depth, colours don't look what they look like. They're not...
Yeah, the light spectrum's different.
They look like blue. Most of it all goes sort of dark blue depending on how far you go down. With those Candy Kings, on the front of them, if you look, there's a big spot.
Yeah.
Pink spot. And on the video, you can see it, and I'm in 180 foot. You just see a pink spot. The colours on the lure aren't that visible. It's an attack spot. Yeah. And I was on this particular wreck, and I've got the video on there. There is thousands of bass on this wreck. Yeah. I put it on the Small Boats page, and everyone lost their minds. There was thousands of bass on this wreck. And we was getting quite a few that day, so obviously I knew they were there. But this glitter Candy King, and I suddenly went, that's why it works.
Little trigger.
It's not a fancy gimmick.
You use the word attack spot. Is that what that's where those colours come from? Or is it a happy accident that they've just put those colours on?
I don't know. Sam will tell you. I mean, there's the glitter. That's not me, but
Andrew.
That was me up a minute ago. That's not me.
That's my mate. Shout out, Andrew.
Las Vegas.
That's my boat.
Is it? Nice.
23-year-old little.
Nice. There we go.
There it is.
So this is some of my stuff here. This is all. If you scroll down.
Oh, look at that one. There's just loads.
This isn't the glitter, I don't think. But if you click on one of these here, you'll see how many. I think it's this one.
That's all bass.
Oh, that. Yeah, sorry. I'm looking at. Yeah, look at that.
That looks cool.
That's with a pink sidewinder.
Oh yeah.
What's the TV
look at
glitching?
That. That's cool, isn't it?
What's the TV glitching for?
So I get more of a buzz seeing that than I do catching bass.
Yeah, so that was with a pink one. That's not the glitter one. But you can see how many bass are there.
Yeah, look at that. Look at them all chasing it.
They had a swipe at it, but didn't get it. But that's with a pink one. But then everyone was going, oh, there's not a very good advert for Sidewinder because of the lure. But they don't understand I'm fishing a 30, 60 centimetre trace there. They are seeing, they go, watch that on there. He's not looking at the lure.
He's looking at the camera.
He's looking at the camera.
And shellfish aren't always feeding. Some places I go to,
you need a live sand deal.
Yeah, but
you know,
they forget there's a big camera there right in front of the lure.
I'll try and find that one with a Candy King so we can link it into what we're talking about. I'm not sure. It'll be one of the underwater ones. It might be a case of might be that one. I'm not sure. Might be a bit of playing about. Yeah, it's a bit because it's quite.
Oh yeah, that's a spot.
It's in a spot. And that's a squid. That's a squid attacking
really cool.
it. That's a squid going for the lure. It's not a bass, but you can't see it now. But look, you can see how luminous that spot is at the front. And that's a glitter Candy King. The rest of that lure is actually just white, even though it's got the different coloured stripes down it. But it's got that spot on the head, and that's what they go for. And that's what they're seeing him at deep water, is that spot.
Have you spoken to the camera manufacturers to try and get them to do like a bigger fisheye lens on it to give you more?
I've given some feedback to it. I'm not affiliated with either Waterwolf or Westin, which is who I use the cameras with.
Because they started off, they turned up in the carp scene.
Yeah.
The lads were casting.
The deeper and that lot.
The deeper's a fish finder, but I'm sure it's the Wolf cameras. They turned up and the lads were flicking them out, almost using them as leads.
Yeah.
And you could see your rig right in front of it.
Yeah, well, it's fascinating, but it's just something that's really, like, I get home, and that day I saw them bass. We knew there was bass there, but I didn't realise
cool footage.
I didn't realise how many bass were there. It will look better when you finish this today. Have a look on there, because it looks better when it's like there. There was thousands.
Because if you had a red filter in at that depth, obviously you want to see the actual colour of the lure. If you had the red in, you'll see the colour because it'll add the red spectrum back in.
Exactly. So there's different. I'm in your top of your game with the underwater stuff, whereas I'm learning it, and I try and pass that on. But it's getting home after my day's fishing. Like I said, boats tied up, washed down, gone home, and then you're still immersed in your fishing. You're going, oh my god, and the shape of the wreck that you're fishing. I've dropped it down sometimes, and I've put it right next to a massive great conger eel that's sticking out, and it's looking at the camera like, what is this? And then of course it zooms away. But that then tells me there's a nice eel on that wreck somewhere. I'll have him another day, and I just find it fascinating. It just blows my mind.
Now.
When did the underwater start for you? How long ago?
Only this year. We were bassing, so I don't know what it's like down here, but certain times of the year our way, normally about mid-December, if you're not 20 miles plus, you just don't catch anything on the wrecks.
Okay.
So we start going out offshore, and that's where the knowledge comes in of where these fish are going to be. And I've been lucky enough down the years from a young age, and I'll come on to the background in a bit. I've fished with some really good skippers, like really good, and they've passed their stuff on to me. And I ask questions. If someone ever says to me, what's your top tip for anything in fishing, it's always ask questions. Like me out there, you're telling me you've gone from this size.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said is, why?
Yeah.
What's the logic behind it? Is it a catch rate thing? Is it a price thing? Is it something else? Because the more questions you ask a good fisherman, the more you learn and they spawn more questions. So it's always just ask questions. And it goes from there. And then we start fishing on those bass and pollock early part of the year, and we just put that camera down. It's just next level.
Proper enjoy it.
I love it. I'm passionate about the game. I don't care, like I said, LRF fishing, whatever, the underwater aspect. And underwater camera film is not new. The only new thing on YouTube, I'd say at the minute, is the tuna. Because they haven't been around for ages. The only new thing on the game is tuna. Everything else has been done before in some form.
And even with the tuna stuff that's coming out now, all they're doing is covering the old format. Let's get on a boat. Let's show the rods. You've got that shot of the rods up with them steaming out with the wash going on with some music on the back. Then they hold up the bars going, these things are like Christmas decorations.
Yeah,
and then out go the bars, whereas like we've been having conversations about, I want to, we just fished the first UK tuna tournament.
I saw it, yeah.
I did not fish the best that I could have done. Dave Mordecai, biggest fish, and he came fourth. Mm-hmm. And we were the only 3 privateer boats. Yeah. So we're in a WhatsApp group down here.
Yeah.
Tuna, I can't repeat the second word of it. You're in it. We'll get thrown off the air for the second word, but we're up.
Well done, Andy, I'm proud of you.
I don't work with that one, but like it's it's the you're talking about like the politics in fishing. It's the polar opposite. We're all privateers.
Yeah.
We're all completely open with each other. We're all buzzing for each other.
Yeah.
You've got two lads who are popping all the time.
Yeah.
I do a lot of bar work, but I'm learning off of them about popping. They're now working on like these different soft plastics that they're going to launch. Dave does a lot of live bait fishing. Yeah. They're doing stuff with slow pitch jigs. And it's, we're trying to. I look at. You had the chart program. You heard about that.
No, I understand tuna fishing. Like I said before, I know what I know and I know what I don't. And I don't know anything about tuna fishing. So
the chart program, there's 24 boats in the UK.
Test program, wasn't it? It was a test run.
Yeah, it was a test run. You could only take, it was their bars, their rods. You just turned up. Yeah. They put you on the fish. It went off. You got to hold the rod and reel it in. Cool. Well, we'd been running around while they were doing that, still doing our own tuna fishing. And then, of course, this year we got our first recreational licences. Yeah. So we could now go out and not have to look out over our shoulders and go and do our own fishing.
Legally, it's the word.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I wasn't going to use that one because we weren't illegal. We were just sort of maybe pushing the boundaries of what people said we could say and do. But I paid no attention to the rules. So if you don't know them, you can't break them, can you? So I just cracked on.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. So those charter boys, amazing skippers, huge amounts of experience. But I look at them now as the old guard, and we're like the new guard coming through. We're really thinking about our fishing. We're thinking about, we're noticing different sorts of tuna that are turning up. Yeah. They're still bluefin, but we've got some ideas of maybe some fish are coming from some other directions instead of the ones coming out the med.
We had albacore, I think it is called.
Albacores, we've got
small ones. Small ones. We had one of them caught the other day.
We've got Bonitos. Yeah. He's Bonito mad. He's absolutely Bonito nuts. Yeah, we've got some interesting stuff turning up in our waters.
Didn't they see a sailfish? Was it a black marlin back of the Isle of Man?
We don't talk about that. We'll edit that bit out.
Oh, was that it? Okay, sorry. I don't know.
We don't talk about those things. That's some stuff we're working on.
Okay.
So like the privateer side of it is something that I'm heavily passionate about on the tuna fishing. It's where it's going to take it to the next level. And we're talking about a series we're going to do next year. From doing the tournament, putting our boat, we were going to go down by sea. Weather was crap. So we chucked the boats, because all our boats are trailable, chucked them on the trailers, drove down to Falmouth. And I was like, why have we not gone up to Yorkshire where they've just caught the first tuna up there? Why have we not taken the boats up there? Why have we not taken the boats over here and done this? Next year it's going to be a whole different thing. And now that I've got this guy on board, like he's gagging to jump into the middle of a tuna bust. It's not.
No, I don't blame you. I've swam with tuna in Australia.
Oh, that's cool.
I've swam with them. They have them in big pens out there.
Yeah.
It's a tourist attraction.
Love to do that.
And I've done it. After I got injured, which we'll come on to, I suppose, at some point, I went out there, I dove with great white sharks, and I did the tuna. And it was about £850 of bluefin tuna. And they get in there, and you're there with your little bobbin life jackets on. I'm there with no legs already, and I'm winding everybody up saying it was a shark attack in Australia, which is perfectly believable. And these £850 bluefins, and they're throwing these chunks of mackerel in there, and you're there with your snorkel, and 1 minute there's a little bit of mackerel there, and it's bang, and they are, you do not know how fast they are until you are in their environment.
Like torpedoes, aren't they?
You can gauge it from the top, and you go, wow, they're really fast. Sharks are exactly the same. Yeah. You do not realise how big they are, how fast they are.
We'll show you some drone footage that we got, what you got.
Scary.
We're out on one of the boats.
Cool. Scary.
It's unreal. So, okay, let's go back to the beginning. So, you were commercial fishing, weren't you?
So, I come from a commercial fishing background. My dad was a commercial fisherman, crew and skipper. My granddad worked
beaming, netting,
scalloping. And then my great-granddad was involved in the D-Day landings, getting people off. He got an award for that. So, I've got a maritime background. And so it was natural that I spent time around. I don't eat fish.
I don't eat fish either.
I don't like it. Because my dad brought it home 3 times a week. My stepmom was a shit cook. I put me off fish. So I come from the maritime. That's why everyone says, I should try this. I've tried it. I don't like it. Turbot, red mullet, bass. I catch it all. I don't like fish. I'm 39. Don't try and put this curried Dover sole on me. I don't like it.
Do you know what I mean? With you. So, give me steak.
Just give me steak. That's all I care about.
Tuna steak?
No. Well, you don't like fish. No, you didn't say that. I had some raw yellowfin. We caught raw yellowfin on hand lines. For the great white sharks, they catch the little tunas on the way out. So we were catching these little yellowfins on hand lines, and we tried it, and I was like, I don't like it. Actually, that was okay. But so going back into it, I think my first commercial fishing trip, I was 8 years old. I put a photo up a while ago now, but I've got these like fisherman's gloves on that I'm so small that they go all the way up my arms. We've been wreck netting at the time when they did it up my way, and they were catching loads of cod when there was loads of cod about up my way. And I'm there, and I was coming over the net hauler, and I was all buzzing, going, yeah. And then I looked down into a box and saw this 20-pound cod slowly dying in the box. I just burst into tears as an 8-year-old out on this boat. And my dad there, proud as punch, take a photo. And I'm there like snivelling with this bloody great cod in my hands. But that set sort of the bar in motion to the sea fishing sort of world. And then as I sort of got older, sort of 10, 11, before I was going to school, before I started high school, so I was 11, 12, I used to walk to school every day. It was maybe 3 miles. And me and my other mate, who comes from a big fishing family down at Newhaven, the Bickerstaffs, we would go and do some hand lining for eels before school. He'd bring some stuff from the boat's old soul gut, and we'd be there hand lining 6:37 in the morning. School starts 8:30. We're like, yeah, we can sneak a few out. So we'd go and catch these eels on hand lines before school. Go to school covered in eel, black trousers and eel slime everywhere. And the teacher would be like, you boys been fishing again? Like, yeah. So, it was always there from a very young age. And then I started working on the boats at weekends, a bit of part-time money. And then...
Was this with your old man? Or
no, he
just jumped on anyway?
He got injured on the boats. He'd done his back in. He never really recovered. He went down a slippery slope, which I won't go into, but I moved out of home age 14 when I lived with my grandparents because stuff wasn't working out at home. So I'm now coming into my teens, and I'm doing every weekend on the boat. But coming as a teenager, testosterone starts hitting.
Yeah.
I started having that.
Birds, beer.
Mate. It was drink at weekends, age 14, at the local house party. Whoever's mum and dad had gone away.
White Lightning.
Or down the beach. Yeah, but you net bottles of vodka back then, quarter bottles of vodka. So then I got into. I was quite punchy as a kid. There was a lot of bullying going on at my school, and I cannot stand bullies. And I was already quite a tall kid at that point.
You're a big guy.
Well, I just cannot stand bullying. So when I was at these house parties, if I spotted someone who I knew was a bully and I was full of vodka, then they started trying to poke me.
Yeah.
They got both barrels. I got into a lot of fighting as a kid. But what I didn't realise is that between that and working on the boats, which is a physically demanding job, a lot of heavy gear, lifting 6, 7 stone fish boxes around all day. Doesn't sound much, but from floor to up to floor to up, all day, every day, you start naturally building muscle. It's a natural gym. And I had this work ethic. My skipper at the time, who I first started working with, he said, don't ever be late. And he taught this to me. He said, don't ever be late anywhere. He said, be an hour early, but don't be a minute late. He said, when you're at the boat, get there early, get the ropes off. He said, if I'm late, it doesn't matter. Monkey see, monkey do. It's you get there early, you get us ready to go, and that's it. And that was I had that from a young age. So I was walking 3-4 miles to school and to the boat every day. I was getting in lots of fights, and I was quite punchy at weekends for those who deserved it. And I had this work ethic where I'm going to go and work really hard. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was setting me up for the army that I hadn't even thought about at the time, being on time, being able to handle your own and not taking any shit. And then as that progressed, I was 17, 18. I've been scalloping, really good week scallop fishing. Really happy days, big wages week, cool. Went down the boat to go and have a chat with the skipper and sort of fix the gear and stuff like that, because I think it was a windy day. And he said, Ben, I've got to let you go. First thing, just no hello, just, Ben, I've got to let you go. And I was like, go where? Cafe? What am I doing? He said, no, he said, you got to go. He said, I've just been done for tax evasion. Fishermen notorious for not paying taxes.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I said, well, what does this mean for me? He said, last on, first off. Get your gear, fuck off, basically, was what the conversation was. Go up the office, collect your wages. Thanks for everything you've done. I was like, oh, happy days, cool. Went up there, collected 900 quid for a week's work, scalloping, young 18-year-old. I was like, what am I doing now then? Bit depressed, I've lost my job. Plenty of fishing jobs around, but I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go in town, I'm going to live it up a little bit today. Got drunk in there, bought all my new clothes, cutting around with all my shopping bags here, spent my wages instantly. And I walked past the Army Recruitment Centre, full of beer at this point, and I was looking at it, and I thought, fucking looks a bit of fun, I'll have a bit of that. And I walked in there with all my shopping bags, absolutely stinking of booze. And I was like, I want to join the Army. Because they looked at me and although I was tall, I was quite skinny then.
Yeah.
And they were like, what do you mean you want to join the Army? I said, well, he's got a gun on there on your window, I'll have a bit of that. He's like, you don't just get given a gun, son, you have to work for it. I said, yeah, what have I got to do? He said, you've been drinking today? I said, yeah, I have, yeah. He said, come back in the week. He said, I'll make you an appointment. Have a think about it tonight so you're not all piss and vinegar and just chatting shit. Come back and we'll have a look at it. And I went home and I said to my grandma at the time and my dad had in the house, wasn't talking much, but he was there at the time at my grandma's house where I was living. And I said, I'm going to join the army, still full of beer. And of course, they all laughed. I didn't have the greatest respect for authority. Bit of a maverick, doing my own thing, didn't listen to the parents. Oh, you'll fail, you won't, don't bother, you know, whatever. And when someone tells me I can't do anything, double down, all in, done. So I was like, all right, cool, no worries. Went in there, signed up. 4 weeks later, I was in training up at Catterick in Yorkshire, infantry. It was either be a fighting man or be a medical man. I was either going to, in my head, because you had Iraq going on at the time, and you had Afghan had been going on for a couple of years as well.
Yeah.
So it was either, for me, it was either going to be a fighting man or I'm going to save lives. Take them or save them was my attitude.
That's what you wanted to do if you got in.
No trade, no sort of go and be an engineer, go and get a qualification. I wanted to, if I could be frank on here, I wanted to kill people or I wanted to save lives. That was all that was in my head.
Because the army makes that decision on what you're actually going to do, don't they?
No, you get to choose. You get to choose what you do. Infantry's a bit different in that there's many different roles within the infantry, the fighting sort of corps. There's many sort of different roles you can do. But I went down the fighting route because I thought, well, actually, that suits me better to what my personality is in terms of like being on that. I wanted stories to tell. I didn't want to go to Iraq or Afghan and come home and said, yeah, I cooked some meals for people who was out fighting, or I drove some lorries and I gave stuff to people that were fighting. I wanted to be the fighter. I wanted to be one of those people. So we did Iraq to start with, but going back to training briefly, told I would be no good at it. I put my all into it, and I actually walked away with top student in training.
How long was the training?
6 months of infantry training, which is quite tough in the middle of winter in Catterick in Yorkshire. So snowing there, you're crawling through frozen rivers and all the rest of it, and you know, bayonet training and stuff. But I took to it, not to quote Forrest Gump, but a bit like duck to water sort of thing.
Yeah.
They told me I should have had best shot, and they told me I should have had best fitness, but they couldn't give one person 3 awards. And that's not an egotistical thing. It's just that someone told me I wouldn't be any good at it, and they were as a very bad judge of character, and they're my own parents and my own family. So there I am. So I got to battalion, went to Iraq, and that's where I saw my first sort of...
Did you go literally... Is it pass out or they...
Yeah, passed out of training.
And then they literally just shipped you off?
Got in, no, there was a little bit of time. I went to Iraq, I think it was 2006, so I finished training early 2005, I finished training.
So this is the first goal. When was the first?
Second,
yeah, the first.
This is the second one.
Yeah.
So I joined battalion early 2005, I think it was, May 2005, and I was in Iraq in 2006, less than a year later. And I was still in a standard infantry platoon at that time, so just basically a bod with a rifle. Do as you're told, go out there, shoot, whatever else. Sort of the lowest of the low within the infantry sort of ranking structure. Went to Iraq, had my first taste of death there, not my own, but I saw a few guys that were injured badly. I had my first sort of contact, as they call it, first shoot 'em up. And that's where you sort of cut your teeth, really. And Iraq was...
How did that go for you?
Yeah,
was it what you thought it was going to be? Did the training kick in? Did you
training kicks in. So the first time we had an explosion, it was about 2 kilometres away. But we'd never had an explosion, so all of us diving for cover under these vehicles. Whereas the old sweats who'd been around it, they were like, "What the hell are you doing under there? Get up, boy!" And you're like, it's like in the film sometimes. You got a sergeant major standing there, get up. So we was all like that, and we were all new to it. And by the end of it, we had bombs going off outside our doors. You didn't care. You just like, yeah, we're fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool. So you sort of I cut my teeth in Iraq. And then when I come back...
So that's 6 months?
Yeah, it's just 7 months we did there, 40-degree heat as well. It was horrible.
40 degrees.
Disgusting as well. I was in the back of these vehicles at the time.
Sweat boxes.
It was horrible. It was disgusting. People in there smoking. I'm not a smoker, but people in there smoking. It was horrible. But I cut my teeth. And we got back, and during the tour, someone had read my report from training that said he's fit, he's a very good shot, he's a good leader. And someone said, we think you'd be a good candidate for a sniper course that's coming up.
Okay.
I was like, I know a bit about sniping. I can shoot. I'm a good shot. I'll give it a go. So I went there, did that, and I walked away with top student on that as well.
How long's that course then?
That was 3 months. But it's not just shooting. Everyone thinks snipers are, because the movies glorify it. But it's not. The shooting is 10%.
Is it the hiding yourself away?
It's the navigation. It's the judgment of what you're shooting. It's being able to spot what you're shooting. And it will come into play in Afghan, because them Taliban, you rarely saw the Taliban. You rarely saw them. You'd be shot at by 8-10 people and you wouldn't see one of them. They were like rats. You just did not see them. And part of
because
the
they were
sniper,
very good at where they were hid, or they were just in with the crowd and you couldn't.
both. You know when someone's firing a weapon at you because you can see they've got a gun in their hands. But it's if someone came to Torquay today and kicked off who didn't know the area, you would know where all the back alleys are, all the shortcuts.
You're in their backyard.
You're in their backyard. So we didn't have a clue. So part of the sniper's job is to step back, and when everyone else is blindly firing in panic because they're ill-disciplined and not trained, your job as a sniper is to step back and go, what's the bigger picture? Where is the likely firing point? Where is that machine gun going to be? Where is the commander who is leading these men? Because everyone's got a leader, You're here today, you're leading 2 people.
I wouldn't say that, but the leader's behind the desk.
You're the leader, but
I know what you mean.
You're the one that's hosting. So so it's just the point is, as a sniper, you're not just there to blindly shoot. You will fire one shot and you'll get a hit with it, and that hit will have more effect than someone firing 2,000 shots. So you part of it is the discipline and the rest of it. So I did the sniper course. I got top student on that as well, and then I came out and I went on to Afghan in 2009, and that was my busiest tour, quote unquote busy.
Yeah. And was that 7 months again?
7 months again. Me and my boss at the time, another sniper, we got posted away. They was having some trouble in a certain area with the Royal Marines. They were getting hit quite hard, and they said we need some sort of asset down there to deal with the problems. So we went down there and we dealt with the problems.
Being a sniper, did you get a bit more freedom?
Yeah.
Than just being you became your own little entity?
We were sat on our own, away from all the crowds. No one wanted to talk to us because we were like, oh, they've got sniper rifles. And it's like, it's quite a nice...
What is it? It's not a 50 cal, is it?
I had a 50 cal in the second tour.
I shot one in Vegas.
Yeah. So I've got one.
It's like being dapped in the end of the nose. And I had plugs in.
Got some kick, isn't it? We had armour piercing rounds as well, like take out engine blocks and go through the walls out there. But I had that on the second tour.
Unbelievable.
So the first tour we had the 338, which is a standard. It was new at the time, but it punched out far. You could hit a target quite far out with that. And
what sort of range?
My furthest confirmed kill was 1,145 metres. Just over a kilometre was my furthest confirmed kill. But I hit targets. I hit a mosque. The mosques out there. I've got to be careful what I say here.
Yeah.
They would play stuff over the mosques. Religious place, you don't touch it, you don't shoot it, you don't bomb it, whatever. But they would fire from the mosque knowing that we wouldn't shoot at it. And they would play propaganda from the mosques. And we had interpreters there. And they'd have someone in the mosque, a Taliban, talking to us and winding us up. And we just lost a couple of guys. And they'd been blown up. And they was over this mosque taunting us. So I went and shot the speakers out from 1,500 metres away, so they couldn't do it. Next day, they had a set of speakers wide up again. But you can punch out really far with these rifles, and if they hit you, you don't get up.
I'm guessing if you get, because there's shock that comes off of a bullet. At some range, if that goes past a certain part of you, is that doing enough damage?
50 cal, yeah. So you got the kinetic damage from it.
Kinetic damage.
So if you ever see a video, and they'll be on YouTube, they fire into ballistic gel. You have what they call temporary, I won't get too technical, but you have what they call permanent cavitation and temporary cavitation. And what that means is you'll have, this obviously the viewers might not see it, but you'll have this remote, that'll fire into something, but the hole will be the size of that, because that's what that size is. But the effect of it might make the hole that big.
Yeah.
Now, without getting too gross, on the human body, a bullet has that effect where it's the size of a bullet, but obviously being muscle and skin and bone, stretches, does a lot of damage. Bigger the bullet or how the bullet is made, the more damage you get. So, that's that. So, yes, if a 50 cal passes near to you, doesn't necessarily have to hit you to cause damage. It might tear your skin or whatever. So, I won't go into too much detail.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But, it can...
I've seen it in the movies. That's all. Like in that film, The Jackal, he's got that 50.
Yeah, the movies are good. The closest movie to sniping is American Sniper with Bradley Cooper.
It's a good film.
That's probably the closest to the reality of it, both before and after a tour, that you'll have to what it's actually like.
Did you struggle after tours?
No, I did another one after that. So we then went on to another tour, which is when I got blown up. And I never had a problem with it. I was there to do a job.
Separated from...
Didn't have a conscience. I had an incident that caused me a few problems. And I won't go into it, but it was something happened with a machine gun that I didn't mean to happen, and it taunted me for a little while. It was completely accident. The gun slipped and it hit a couple that shouldn't have been hit. They was in the way. That lived with me for a little while, still does now. But as far as like, did what I do bother me? No. They were trying to kill me and my friends. I've got no problem killing anybody that is doing that. And I still have that sort of ethic now with anybody. If my friends or family are having troubles, then I don't, they get my full backing with it, and I don't have any problems with it. But naturally, you see things out there, you do things. What humans do to each other. I know this is a fishing podcast, maybe get a bit off topic.
No.
But what humans do to each other is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
The amount of things you could fix for the price of an Apache attack helicopter.
Yeah, and they did fix a lot of problems.
So how did the Amputee Angler become born?
I suppose we better talk about this. So second Afghan tour. So I've done 3 tours now. Iraq, Afghan, and we're on the second Afghan. I just come back from R&R, which is your little break. You get 10 days. In that 7 months, you get 10 days off. 7 months of listening to helicopters, explosions. Home. Came home for 10 days. That's that. And what people don't... I don't go to any air shows now because I spent 7 months listening to helicopters and aeroplanes. We called in bombs from aeroplanes that, I've got no interest in that. Everyone sees a Chinook helicopter now with the 2 blades. Everyone goes, wow. I just go, oh, for fuck's sake. Because I ended up in one of those. But come back from R&R and we had, I'd only been back a couple of days, and we had intelligence that there was a foot patrol out on foot walking around the local village, and the Taliban had spotted them and they was going to put an attack on them. Could we go out and basically give them a bit of extra protection, maybe put them off attacking them, or if something did kick off, a bit of extra firepower? And we was in vehicles at this time. We wasn't sniping, we was in our vehicles. So 4 vehicles went out. I was lead vehicle.
You're in Land Rovers?
Sort of, yeah. Wimics, they're called. They're basically sexed up Land Rovers, armour, 2 guns, whatever, grenade launcher on the top, machine gun.
Yeah.
So I was sat there and we're looking round, and I'm scanning because I'm quite keen-eyed, being the job I did. I was looking around and I was watching the foot patrol come in, and I had a bun line, so basically like a raised up bit of earth. I happened to be watching, pure coincidence, I was watching one of the guys as he came in, and we have whenever you stop in the army out on the ground, you call it going firm. So you basically drop to the ground on one knee, so lower your profile. Yeah. You don't just stand there having a gaggle because someone is always watching you at some point. If there's another sniper out there, which we did have other enemy snipers, you don't want to be standing up. So I happened to be watching one of these guys coming in, and they stopped and went down, and there was just an almighty explosion from on their end, and he went up in the air, came down again, and this guy had knelt on an IED. IED. Improvised explosive device, basically homemade bomb, essentially. And he'd knelt on it, and of course then all hell breaks loose. Taliban start firing as well, because they know we've had a bit of an incident. Chaos ensues, and that's where your training comes in. So we were there, so not much we could do at this point. The patrol was dealing with the casualty. We were there protecting the patrol. And what happens is you have metal detectors out there to find these bombs, because a lot of them have got metal components, so you use them. And we was in a farmer's field, a bit like you've got here, just been ploughed, really soft mud, and the guys are out there scanning this field for more bombs so the helicopter could come in and pick this casualty up. Now, because they was a ground patrol, they only had like these flimsy, like poncho-style things for a stretcher, and they got on the radio and said, can we get one of your rigid stretchers from the vehicles, because all the vehicles had like proper hospital-style stretchers. Yeah. And my 18-year-old driver said, I'll do it, and he's only his first tour, 18 years old, wet behind the ears. And he jumped out and grabbed the stretcher, and I knew what he was going into. And this isn't a hero moment. I just, as a commander, I was a corporal at the time, so I had a bit of power and responsibility. Someone else was taking charge of the patrol, another corporal like me. So I said, look, no, you stay here with the vehicle. I will take the stretcher. So I took the stretcher off of him, and we have what they call safe lanes out there. So where these guys have marked with the metal detectors, they mark them with silooms, a bit like starlights, basically. Yeah. So you know where to run, because they learned early on that where there's one bomb, there is normally more. Yeah. And the Taliban are ever evolving. They change how they do it, and they know where you're going to form up to do a second explosion. It turns out, we didn't know till later on, but there was 14 more bombs in the area, half the size of a football field. How there was only 2 casualties, because I become the second one in a minute. We were just so lucky that it had been raining so hard prior that the ground had become so soft that the other bombs weren't triggering them and the guys were stepping on them.
Oh, so they were being stood on.
They were being stood on, but the ground was so soft. But the way they do it, there's a number of ways you can make a bomb. It's not a bomb-making class. But you ever do that thing at school where you link the 2 batteries up? Yeah. You put 2... It's a metal-to-metal contact. Yeah. So what they do is take a bit of wood, They put a bit of metal on the bottom, 2 wooden blocks, get a saw blade because they're flexible. Put that on top. When you stand on it, the saw blade bends, metal to metal. That's what makes the explosion. And that's what I stood on. So, I've got this stretcher, and I've said, right, where's the safe lane to my commander? I said, where is it? And he went, over there to the right. And I've got no grudges of what happened next. It's just chaos of battle happens. He said, cross that little bridge. There was like a little ditch. He said, cross that, turn right, you'll be okay. I said, are you sure? He said, yes. I went across the bridge, turned right. I took about 6 steps, and I just felt the earth. When you're running on a surface and suddenly you step in a puddle or so, the texture of the ground just changed. And you'll see it in films where they slow it all down in slow motion. And exactly like that. It just exactly like that. I took a step with my right leg, and it dropped about a foot. And I just, in my head.
Fuck.
It's instant, but for me, it was about 5 seconds. In my head, I just went, oh, fuck, it's coming. I know what's coming. I know what I've done. I know what I've just stepped on. Fuck. And explosions are loud by their nature. It goes without saying. But when you are on top of an explosion, it's just different level. I cannot explain it unless you've lived it. You just can't. Doesn't do it justice. I stepped on it. It went bang. I went 3 meters up in the air. I did about 2 or 3 flips.
Do you remember all of this?
I was conscious the whole time until they put me to sleep. Some people get wiped out, don't remember a thing. I was conscious the whole time until they put me to sleep half hour later when the helicopter turned up. So I flipped up in the air, and you can't see it because I've got my jumper on, but my rifle, because it was slung over me, because I was carrying the stretcher, as I came down, imagine this microphone, again, the viewers might not see it unless they're watching the video, it's got the round base at the bottom, but that's where it goes, you fire the rifle, that's what goes in your shoulder. Well, the barrel dug in the ground, and the butt pad went upright, and my left arm, as I came down, went onto the rifle butt, and I smashed my arm open. And I didn't know it at the time. I landed on the floor, had about 30 seconds where I was like, the old ringing that they do in the films. It was just like that, tinnitus style ringing. And I was breathing in my own blood, big mist of air, with blood in the air. And I was like, and I sat up and managed to sort of prop myself up enough. And it was just, I won't go into the details, but...
What was that moment like when you just went, fuck?
25% of my body had gone in a flash.
So where did they... So I've got knee down, or you above
So
knee?
I've got my below, the most common question I get asked is from people who don't, when they see my legs, is why are they different? My left one, I have my knee joint, so I can make that movement of walking with my own steam.
Yeah.
The right one is actually above the knee, so I've got a robotic leg because I haven't got that knee joint. So I lost both my lower legs. I went to sort of self-help, because you're taught to self-help in this situation, until help gets, because now they know there's another bomb there, they've got to sweep all the way up to me with a metal detector, because otherwise...
So help ain't coming quick?
No, well, the guys were only 20, 30 foot. One of my feet hit my friend in the chest.
No way.
I want to laugh, but I don't know if it's appropriate.
No, you can laugh. I've told you before, I'm not precious about it. It doesn't trigger anything for me, I'm not precious.
Because you see those scenes in Private Ryan where they're walking around holding their arms and stuff on the Normandy beaches.
I couldn't walk, so I had no legs.
Did you go into shock? Or
Yeah, well, I'm in, I've got this ring in, I've got a mist of, like the red light behind you there, I've got that around me, I'm breathing in my own blood, I can see that there's nothing left of my lower legs bar the bones, essentially was what it was. I went to self-help, so I went to sort of get my bandage out of my right pocket, and I just felt a twitching up here in my left arm. And I'm all dazed now, so I'm trying to think, why is my left arm not moving? And I looked down at my jacket and saw my upper arm sticking out my jacket.
So you've broken your arm? Well,
yeah, compound fracture. So I've now got a metal plate and 8 screws holding my arm together, as well as 2 legs missing. So I very nearly was a triple amputee, very nearly. If I hadn't been 6'3" and 16 stone, they said I probably would have been dead. It's only because of the height and the fact I was in the gym and I was so fit that the muscles and tendons from where I trained and was so actively fit kept me together, essentially. So there I am now. I'm like, well, I can't do anything. And I started crying. And I'm there, a fully grown man, and I'm crying. And I
think you're allowed to cry at that stage.
Well, yeah, everyone has different responses, but I think I was crying more out of frustration that I was dying. On the floor, 2 legs missing, an arm hanging off.
Are you bleeding out at that stage?
Bleeding out. Yeah, I'm bleeding out. I've got...
Because that's all like main...
It's arteries.
Yeah.
I'm bleeding out. I can't help myself because I've got no arms. My other arm was pinned in such a way under me I couldn't get it out without like doing more damage. I can see my buddies coming up to me with metal detectors going, "You're going to be okay, Ben?" And I'm like, "Well, it's too late for that. I'm not okay. I'm in bits, literally." And I'm there going, "Right, cool." And they got to me. They started working on me, like, "You're going to be okay." The usual stuff that you would expect, you know. Medic got to me, morphine straight in my leg. And I went, first thing I went to him, I went, "Is my dick still there?" First thing I said. And he went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Is my penis still attached to my body?" And he undid my flies, put his hand in there, and he went, "It's still there." I went, "Good. I'm all good. Patch me up." That was it. That was it. And they morphine me. Of course, the other guy now who, you know, let's not forget that someone else has been injured prior to me. He was there, brought alongside me. We got on the helicopter, turned up, I think it was 27 minutes from point of injury.
From his or your point? From him getting hit 27 minutes?
From my point of view, I think it was 27 minutes. His was maybe 5 minutes before.
Right, okay.
I'll call it half hour.
Yeah.
So helicopters turned up, and it's those big Chinooks, 2 blades, and they're kitted out to be hospitals. There is no finer instrument of medical precision out there than a Chinook helicopter in the British Army. It is amazing. And it landed down. They wheeled him on first because he was in quite a bad way. I was in a bad way, but he was in a bad way. They put him on, and then they put me on afterwards, and they started working on me, and they hadn't clocked that I'd broken my arm, because at this point now they put me on a stretcher, and I'm all sort of there, all collapsed in, and the bone had gone back inside my jacket. Oh. So anyway, the guy's working on me, and he kneels on my arm.
Oh, no.
The guy in the helicopter kneels on my arm, and then I smack him because he's hurting me. So I managed to go, boff, and I punched him. And I punched him in the helmet and broke my finger because my arm's broken. And he said, "I'm so sorry." And then they're working on me. And the next thing he says, "We're going to put you to sleep." And I went, "Yeah, do what you got to do." And he jabbed me in the collarbone up here. 5 seconds later, wiped out, done. 3.5 weeks later, I woke up.
No. Induced coma.
Induced coma. So going back to what we spoke about, the bullet thing with the temporary permanent, an explosion has obviously that, but bigger effect. So what happened is all my lungs were so badly bruised that I couldn't breathe on my own. I died twice. Died in the helicopter and I died in hospital from overheating. That's why I'm hot now. You see me now, I'm getting hot.
I have a fan.
No, I'm all right. No, I'm all good.
We've got him.
No, it's all right. I'll make a noise on the camera.
It won't make a noise, will it?
No, don't worry about it. No, don't worry about the fan. I'm all good. No. But yeah, so I overheat
Mate,
now.
You got fucking blown up.
I'm good.
We can do you.
So yeah, I died twice as a result of that. But it took 3.5 weeks to be able to breathe on my own again.
Was that tubing?
Everything, yeah. You don't realise it. It's you have to we'll talk about the rehab bit in a minute. That's nice.
Happy?
It's a good fan, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy. And Andy, I'm fine. I'm good.
Mate, you deserve a fucking
good,
fan.
thank
Jesus.
You. So yeah,
in America, everybody thanks you for your service. We don't do it enough.
You give me a fan.
I've done.
What could you want? So there I am. I'm in hospital, and I wake up, and there I am. Family's all there. They've been worried sick. What you don't understand is what the families go through as well.
Yeah, because they get a phone call.
Yeah. My brother had to take the phone call. My older brother, because I wasn't living with my dad at the time. So my brother was my next of kin.
So how old were you at this stage?
27 now. At this point.
Right. Okay.
Done 3 tours. So but by that point now, I know what it's about. I've seen dead people. I've seen injuries. So I knew what I was going through. I knew how serious it was. And I woke up and it's there. And what you don't understand is you have to learn how to do everything again. Not just the walking. That comes miles down the line. I couldn't drink.
Because of the tube?
My throat had obviously shrunk. It was dry. It was bruised. To start drinking, they gave me a sponge about the size of a teaspoon. Dip it in water and you had to suck from the sponge for a week. Couldn't eat because my stomach had shrunk so much.
They're just pumping you full of liquids, I'm guessing.
Morphine. They was because I was overheating, and your body is fighting infection, because what they do over there is they smother the bombs in like feces and stuff like that to get an infection. They're very sneaky and very clever. So I actually had infections, and then of course your body then is trying to fight that while missing half its body and the rest of it. So what they were doing was, because I was overheating from the infection, they was literally taking my blood out of my body, going round a venting system to cool it down, and then putting the same blood back in for 3.5 weeks. And that's a huge toll on the body. It's a huge toll on the body.
It's a good job you were a big lad, because
I would have been dead. Yeah. I would have been dead. They said you would have been dead. It was 5 kilos of explosives, homemade explosives that done me. 5 kilos, and that's enough to blow up a car. Not saying my car, but that's the.
You're a unit, though.
But that's the concept of the of what we was up against. And there was 14 more. It was just purely because of the weather, we didn't have a MASH casualty event. Because it had rained so hard and it was so boggy. So
that's you out of the army at this stage?
Well, no, I'm still in at this point because they're giving me care. Now I'm going to flash back to the other guy that got hit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. It's your time.
So obviously I was going to him with a stretcher and he's on the forefront of my mind here now. And I asked about him and they said, yeah, look, he is still alive. He's in a bad way, but he's down. I was on critical care as well and he was in a separate critical care ward because he was critical. So after a little while, I managed to get up into an electric wheelchair. I wasn't out and about, I was in an electric wheelchair, but I could move around a little bit.
Was your arm...
My arm actually seized up. It got stuck in that position for ages. Because it was such a bad break, it got stuck in that position. I actually also broke the upper left leg as well. That was broken, had a metal cage on it. So that was very close to losing, like, right up here as well. So at this point now, I'm not just a robot, I'm like full Iron Man. I've got everything everywhere.
Yeah.
But I managed to go down to where I now know his name's Jack. I went down there to sort of say and introduce myself to the family, and they were all in tears because obviously I'd gone with a stretcher to go and get him and I got injured. So they had this little bit of sort of like, thank you so much for what you've done and we're really sorry you've been injured. And I said, look, that's not what it's about. It's what we do. If it wouldn't have been me, it would have been the other kiddie or whatever. I said, how is he? And I said, can I see him? And they said, look, please come in. I went in there and he was there in bed. And what I didn't understand at the time, because it's the first time I'm seeing him, because he'd knelt on it, he actually lost his entire lower half all the way up to, the bits, as it were. And he was there, he was there. People have survived that. People have survived losing arms, triple amputees. People have survived it, but he had a much more severe injury than I did. And I went up to him and he was in there and I sort of said, look, can he understand can he understand me? And they said that he is morphed up, but speak to him, you might get a response. And I said to him, look, I'm Ben, I'm the guy that will come to you. Do you know, how are you? And I tried to get emotional. He put his hand out. He just said, thank you. That's all he said.
Even when you're that injured, you're going to get me emotional in a minute.
He just said, thank you. He just said, thank you. And I said, shut the fuck up, don't be stupid. I was almost crying. And a bit of water. And I said, don't be silly, it's all good. Anyway, 2, 3, 4 weeks went by. I'd go and give him the odd visit, see how he was. And I was getting a bit better, so I was a bit more not up and about because I'm still in bits, obviously. Went to go and see him one day, and there was a lot of activity outside his room. And I said, I'm here to see Jack, and it became a normal occurrence. And Ben's come to see Jack. And so I come to see Jack, and the nurse was a bit like, not right now, And I said, is everything all right? And they said, best go get a doctor. And as I opened the door, the nurse went in to get the doctor. I could see the family inside the room in tears. So now I'm thinking, the doctor come out and said, I'm really sorry, Jack's just passed away.
Just got the better of him.
Infection got him. I think it was 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. I can't remember. Dates are a bit fuzzy. He passed away from infection sort of 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Fucking rough, innit?
Afterwards, yeah, it was rough. And that hit us all hard. But it was tough to take, and there was a bit of survivor guilt from my side for a while. Just because you think, well, how have I survived it and he hasn't, and it's not fair, and you have to deal with a parent.
It's just the chance of the injury, though, isn't it?
It's just your lot.
He knelt, you stood.
It's just your lot. It is what it is.
And where was this? Was this over there? Was that?
Yeah, so
they fly you back to the UK.
Yeah, so they fly you back from Afghan. You get emergency treatment out there. Obviously, you need. They have field hospitals out there in the main camps. So we both got emergency treatment there, and we flew back that night. They shut the whole of Birmingham down to get us into hospital because we were at Queen Elizabeth II up in Birmingham. They shut the whole town down, off the plane into an ambulance, woo, 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 blue lights all the way through, blockades the lot, get us in, fix us, and that was it. So yeah, we came in, but I went from red hot in Afghan to snow in Birmingham, and it was like when I woke up, it was just looking out the window, snow everywhere.
How long were you in Birmingham for then?
Months.
Really?
Yeah, a long time. I'll say a long time, probably. I mean, my parents will probably tell me more, or my family or whatever, but I don't. That bit of it is vague for me because it just went. Because I was going through so many treatments, secondary operations, blood transfusions. We found some more metal in your body we got to take out. You've got an infection. It was constant, like something was going wrong all the time. And it was a bit of a blur for me. And it got to the point where they said, look, you're well enough to go into your rehab phase now. Go and you can move him down to a place called Headley Court, which was in Surrey at the time. And that's where you start learning to live your life again. You learn to walk. And
Is this where they start kitting you out?
they start kicking you out of the legs, and that's where it happens. Once you get out of the medical, you are going to survive phase, it then becomes into, this is how you are now going to have to live your life. And they do, when you're first up in hospital, they sit you in front of a mirror. When you're compos mentis and you come down from the initial I've been blown up phase, they sort of say, look, you've got to look at yourself now to adjust to what you look like now. And they put you in front of a mirror and they go, 3, 2, 1, and they turn it around and you're there with no legs. And that's a shock. Like,
what was it? Yeah, what was the first time that was like? That was
I
just
just took a big breath.
Really.
Well, I'd seen it with my eyes because I look at it every day. It's me. I look at it, but it was
different perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're looking at it in a mirror. You can't stand up to look at it. You can't stand up and you've got you haven't got legs at this point. In hospital, you've got no legs. You're there looking in the mirror and you're like, this is me now. This is how I look. This is how I got to act. And it was. I went through some dark time in hospital. I went through some dark times, horrible times. I had horrible thoughts. Suicidal thoughts.
Did the army come in and help you with that? Because you hear all sorts of stories of there's no backup. Yeah. They're just casting.
So if you're, I get pensioned off now. Financially, I'm fine because I get pensioned off, disablement pension. Support for PTSD, nothing.
Really?
So.
What about like physical care, legs? If you break stuff?
No, I can't fault them with that. I cannot fault the aftercare in terms of my legs and the rest of it. But mentally, they don't. I'm going to come on to it in a minute because but we will link back into the fishing.
Yeah.
But mentally, is nothing. I had one assessment psychologically, and I had PTSD from my previous. We used to shoot people. That's what we did for a living.
Yeah.
So we had PTSD from the wars, let alone the wars and getting blown up and losing your body.
PTSD have never been to war.
Well, ambulance staff and police staff, fire staff, they all deal with stuff on a daily basis because you haven't got to be in a war zone to get PTSD. But there was no help on that. I had one assessment. It was like, do you think you've got PTSD? And I lost my shit with a psychologist in the first 5 minutes. I said, I'm sat here. You know my profession. You know how many tours I've done. You know I've got blown up in an explosion, which is why I'm here. Yeah. Do you think I've got PTSD? And she went, well, we have to do the tick boxes. I said, well, it's fucking stupid. And I just didn't walk out. I wheeled myself out. But I wheeled myself out in the hump. I was angry, but I couldn't go fast because the doors were in the way. It's not wheelchair accessible. So I was trying to make a point and it failed miserably. But I never had a further assessment again after that.
That's mental.
Never once. Not one. I didn't get paid out. You get compensation from the army for getting blown up. And because I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD, I didn't get that element of the compensation. So not that it's about the money, I don't give a toss about that. Yeah. But that shows how lack is they couldn't even diagnose that a man who'd been blown up, been to 3 war zones, had a sniper career, didn't have PTSD. They couldn't even diagnose that on my medical form.
So what sort of time frame? When was this?
So we're probably now 4 or 5 months after injury where I'm at Headley Court. Which is actually quite a short time. I was going to say,
that's pretty.
But once you're medically stable, you have to get onto the rehab. It's crucial that you don't dwell on it, that you get onto it. And this is where the fishing starts slipping in, is because I was there and they were fitting me with legs out and there's guys who've been injured about the same time as me. I was proper anti-establishment at that point. I was not officially out the army, but in my head, I'm no longer a serving soldier. Anybody in a uniform can go fuck themselves. I don't answer to nobody anymore. I'm here to get some legs, get walking and get home. That was my mentality. Very perfectly polite to everybody, but if someone, because I have to keep a military presence because it is still in a military establishment. We had a sergeant major one day try telling me, I was in there and because I was really struggling with PTSD at the time, I used to go up to the assemblies, as we called it, where they take your name for the morning. You just go out there, Ben, yeah, I'm here, yeah, cool, right. And you literally it's like school. We had a program where you got to go. Physiotherapy, leg appointment, whatever it was going to be, and you go off about your merry way. And then one day I was there with my headphones in. I just didn't want to deal with people. I was in a bad mood. I'd been in a bit of pain overnight. I had a few nightmares. I didn't want to deal with people. So I had my headphones in. And there was I knew, I'll give it to him, he was new, he maybe didn't understand. Sergeant Major, and they walk around with the pace sticks, so big metal, plasticky type sticks. He started waving it in my face. And I was in my headphones. I was there in the zone, death metal, all the rest of it blaring out, problem, murder, death, kill me ears. And he started waving this head stick, and I took my headphones out, and he said, can you take your headphones out? No, please, no, sort of like, we had 10 minutes to go at this point. So, I've got 10 minutes left, I'm listening to my music. And I said, I've got 10 minutes left, and I put my headphones back in, and he poked me with a stick. And I said, you do that again, I'm going to fucking throw you out the window to the sergeant major. And he said, you can't talk to me like that. And in front of about 50 people now, I just said, do you honestly think anybody here gives a flying toss about what you've got to say in that uniform? I said, because I don't. I said, and you're annoying me. I said, I'll tell you now. He said, oh, we're going to have to speak to you about it. And I said, don't worry about it, I'm going home fishing. I turned around, went out, and I went out on a charter boat the next day fishing. And I spent...
Were you leg fitted at this stage?
No, I'm in a wheelchair. So I got a taxi home, wheelchair taxi home. I think it was a taxi or someone picked me up. And I went down and I went fishing the next day on my friend's charter boat. I didn't go back there for about 3 weeks, and I spent most of that time fishing.
I just need to get out of there.
And that picked you right up as well, but that picked you right
I
back.
came to the realisation that if I didn't fix my head and how it was, the walking would never be a priority because I would struggle and it would cause me problems. So I just said, I'm going to get my head straight. I'll sign myself out. So I'm going to go. You'll see me when you see me. Good luck. Thanks a lot. And they went, because they'd never had anybody do this before. And I was like, but you, I said, don't care. I'll be back. See you later. And I went, that was it. I went home and I sorted out a flat for myself. I sorted out getting out and being sociable, sort of getting people who knew me used to how this is Ben now. He's in a wheelchair, he's got no legs. Yes, he's got a scar. Yes, he's got metal work on his leg, and because I had the metal framework up here still. And I went fishing, and I had a couple of good guys down there who had charter boats at the time who I was friends with. By hook or by crook, we got me on the boat, lifting me over in the wheelchair. The crew out for the day would lift me in. I'd sit there in the corner, or they'd prop me on the winch box with a rope, and I'd sit there and I'd fish. And that was it. And brilliant. I didn't care. And then I got a little commercial boat as well. Me and my mate got a little commercial boat, and there's a picture somewhere. It'll be miles down there, but I'm there in my oilskins, and the legs are just folded over because there's no legs there. So I'm there at the back of the boat, and we're hauling these nets with a Dover sole, and I'm there at the back of the boat with no legs, with a wheelchair tucked away on the quay still. You know, it's just, but that got me straight.
How long was it from that then till you went back and went?
3 months. And one day, because my family started getting a bit touchy and saying, well, you've got to be walking now. And at one point, they thought I wasn't ever going to walk again. But I said to them, I will when I'm ready. In my own time, I'll get back up. And when I go, there'll be no stopping me because it's what I want to do. Right now, I want to go fishing. Yeah. I want to get a flat. I want to know I'm comfortable. And that's it. Once my head got straight and I was happy and content, back up there, and I went from A to D, like in terms of progress, instantly. And I was up and I was out, and I was out and discharged ahead of people that were injured at the same time with me. And it got to the point where I was in there and I thought, I'm not getting any benefit from being here now. I'm walking, I'm happy, I'm content. And I went up to the lead doctor. I said, I'm really grateful for everything you've done, but it's time for Ben to go home. I want out. He said, well, we can't, you haven't passed all the tests. I said, I want out. Whether you like it or not, I'm going. Make it official for me. Give me something to sign. Covers your ass, covers my ass. And that's what I did. I signed myself out. Never went back.
Fucking hell.
That was it.
It's a hell of a... In what was that? So you'll know it like 8 months, 9 months?
It was about a year in total, I think it was. I think it was about a year in total done. And that was it. And that was done. And then coming back into the fishing side of it, we are coming back into it, is I was like, well, I don't have to work now because I've got a nice pension. I got a lump sum payout from the army. So money was never a thing for me. Coming back into those early days about the work ethic and I've got to be, I want to be doing stuff. I was like, well, what am I going to do for work now? What am I going to do? And the logical thing was to go back with what I knew, which was fishing. So I bought a bloody great netting boat, far too big. Looking back on it, it was far too big for what I should have been doing. Bought a netting boat, got a crew, 12-metre Blythe catamaran. It was down in
Blythe cat?
Yeah,
Lovely
it was
boat.
down in Newquay. Catherine Anne, big red one, but it's up for sale now. But yeah, I had that, and I went out netting. We made money. We did the bass drifting when we was allowed to do it. Went out on the turbot and everything else, and Dover soles, and it was good. It was probably more therapy than it was a job. The crew all got wages. I got a wage from it, but it was tough. And fishing industry, I'm not sure how much you know about the commercial industry, but
I've got a mate who's a skipper.
It's all drinking drugs for the crews, most of it.
Yeah, weekend millionaires.
Literally that, and finding a reliable crew was hard work. I had this bloody great boat that I couldn't work single-handed. So I was like, nah, do you know what? I'll flog it, I'll sell it, that was it. And I never went back, and then I ended up getting some pleasure boats, and that's where I started the pleasure angling. And I had the knowledge of that anyway, and I was good at that. And it was there, I just went, you know what? I'm not going to work now. I do work, but I'm just going to sort of take it easy. I'm going to go.
So where did the YouTube come in?
My little boys. So I don't do YouTube for I mean, admittedly, the dynamics of it have changed now because obviously there's sponsors and stuff on board. But it started out for two reasons. One, for my children. I've got 3 children, two lads, and the oldest one is fishing mad.
How old are they?
He's 10. Murphy is 10. Hunter is 6. And Sylvie is 3 months old. My latest one. But my oldest one, Murphy, he is obsessed, and he's not with me. He's with the mum, so we share custody.
Yeah.
And I get phone calls from the mum at weekends going, Murphy wants to tie fishing. I don't know. How do I tie this knot? He wants to know, how do you do this? Where can he go and catch some fish? And I said, look, the easiest thing for me to do is I'll film it.
Is he local to you?
Yeah, he's local to me. Yeah, no, we got a real working relationship, and it's all amicable. But from a fishing point of view, he is nuts. He is a real up and coming little angler, and he is nuts about it. And I thought, you know what? When my 2 boys aren't with dad, they can watch me on telly. And it's good, kids these days, YouTube, it's Mr. Beast and all the rest of it. And I thought, I'll be the cool dad. I can teach him at the same time. And if anybody else gets anything, that's a
really good way to start it. Most people are there to do it just because they want the glory, they want a sponsorship.
People, we won't go into a conversation we had previous. People will sit there and think otherwise. But it was only for me ever about my 2 little boys to watch daddy fish when they're not with me. And so he can learn. And I've been sent videos from the mum, sort of like 4 of his mates around a sleepover, watching me on telly. And he's going, that's my dad. And that's like, that gets you as a father.
Yeah.
That's like a real proud moment. And then the other side of it was as well, is that when my fishing session is done, going back to the underwater stuff, but the filming, is my session then carries on. And I learn from it. If I've lost a fish that day, I can play back the footage. Did I half strike that I didn't know at the time? And I should have kept winding. Did the rod tip touch the boat? Did what snapped? What broke? And you can learn from your session that you've just finished, and you can go back and go, I'll do this differently next time. Or my rod was at a slight angle; it should have been there, not there.
So
you know what I mean?
So what boat are you fishing from?
Quicksilver 640 Pilot House.
Okay.
So
yeah. What engine have you got on that?
Merc.
Oh, so that lumps along quite nicely, doesn't it?
No, it's all right. It's a light boat. They're quite slammy because they're light.
Every boat. I had this conversation with people the other day.
No, not every boat is slammy. Don't say that to me.
Every boat's bloody slammy.
I mean,
Chinese Dave isn't that slammy. I'll give it. That's what my boat's called.
English Channel
Chinese Dave.
My best mate's called Chinese John. He's the one that builds mine and Jake's rods.
No, Chinese Dave. It's after the guy who runs my removal company. That's a whole other story. He's not Chinese. But yeah, that's a Wellcraft 220 coastal. Most unslammy thing you meet in the world. It's got a real deep V-hull. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you come off the back of. I've just put those shock mitigating seats in it as well, which makes
the bouncy ones.
Which makes all the difference.
Yeah, they are good, aren't they?
Because Dave Mordecai's got the 675.
Well, I will at some point. I have dropped Dave a message saying, "Can I come and have a look at some point? Have a look around Gadget." Because I am looking to upgrade to something like that at some point. Not right now, but I do a lot of offshore stuff. I'm really antisocial. My fishing with I take people on my boat. I fish with Jake, my mate John. And I will go and fish for a few people, but I'm quite select. But when I'm fishing, if I turn up to a mark, and they could be having it off, they could be having the best bass day of their life, I will leave them, I will go away from people.
You're like me.
I spend miles, I will go miles offshore, and everyone goes, why are you going miles offshore? Because I don't like people.
Peaceful.
I can go fishing and not see might see a container ship, but it's the unknown out there for me. The wrecks out there, they're not touched that much. It's different grounds. Inshore near us, it just gets hammered. And some boats will go to the same mark day in, day out, and their catches will be what is there on the day. I like the knowledge of tracking and hunting the fish. If they're not there, where are they? Why are they not? Why are they not there? They was here last week. Is the tide bigger today? Is it a tide thing? Has the bait moved? Is it a pressure thing? I've just the technical side of fishing is what really drives me.
This is what we're doing with tuna at the moment.
Yeah.
Where's the bait gone? Where's this gone? We've just had springs.
Normally it's food. Normally it's food or sex. That's all it is with fish.
Yeah, 100%. You'll like a Quicksilver 675. It's probably the only thing I'd swap my boat for. We've got a mate who's got a Barracuda 8.
My mate's John's got one.
Nice boat. I prefer the Quicksilver 675. When I first heard of Quicksilvers, I thought they were plastic shit. Then I got on Dave's boat.
Yeah, and then
they are a little bit slammy, but they're very forward on the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Lovely bit of deck space, lovely cabin, fridge, live well.
Yeah.
Two guys,
on the water.
Yeah, it is. 2 guys can fish it. 4 guys can fish on it.
For me, it's the fuel tank size because I travel. I work. I ask, next time you see Jake, ask him how hard I work for a fish. I work. If we don't drop on them straight away, I work.
What size tank have you got on yours?
100 litres.
See, I've got a 374 litre,
Yeah,
375 litre tank on my boat.
She's really economical though.
Yeah, I'm doing about, at 25 knots, I'm doing about 20 litres an hour. And I've got a range of something like 285 miles on my boat. See,
she's really good on fuel, but trouble is I will burn it. I will go, if I'm on it, I will go where the fish go. I don't care whether that's just off the coast of France. Sometimes we get messages from, welcome to France. Genuinely.
What, your phone?
Yeah, because we're closer to France than we are England. Some people say, oh, we're 20 miles off today. And I sit there, I think, no, you're not. You've gone 20 miles along the coast from your harbour. You might be 20 miles from your harbour, but the coast is 4 miles. When I go 20 miles off, I am 20 miles from land.
Yeah. You're from the nearest bit of land.
The nearest bit of land. I go offshore. And there's a difference in that, And certain times of the year, if you're not out there, you're not where the fish are. We had this debate with a skipper. Won't go into it, but someone was trying to get crew on board for a charter boat. Going, I can get fish, and other charter boats were going offshore and getting loads of good fish, and we was getting good fish, and the crews were coming in, and we knew some of the crews, and they're saying we had one pollock in 2 days.
Yeah.
Super, and I'm like, you're not far enough. But yeah, he said, no, you're not far enough. They are breeding now. They are out there. You need to start where you were finishing and push on. Yeah, and that's where
some people can't get their heads around it.
Some people, but others can't. It's a long way to go. And some boats can't do it because of fuel. It costs too much fuel, or
some people just don't want to do it. There's a guy I was talking to recently who's got a recreational tuna license.
Yeah.
He was like, "How far out are you?" I was like, "We're probably about 8 miles in the we're out of Salcombe. I was like, we're probably about 8 miles out." Oh yeah, I'm about 1.5 miles. I was like, well, just keep coming out. But he's not comfortable going out. Like 8 miles,
but I like that though because I fish mid-channel around the big boats, and I fish the French side, and I fish the bit where there's no because we got the lanes opposite us, we got the shipping lanes. I go so far beyond that. I'm out the shipping lanes on the French side, and I love that because I do not see any other pleasure boats because people just do not.
No one takes a Quicksilver 640 that far out.
They don't. I used to have a 17-foot Predator CC. Tiny little like dory type thing.
Good boat though.
Lovely boat. We used to fly. You hit a wave, you went to the moon. You went to the moon in it. If you hit it wrong, you went to the moon. Yeah. But I used to go turbot fishing in that, and I used to get some great catches. And people used to go, "What are you doing out there?" That's where the fish are.
A lot of people don't have confidence though to get out. Like working in the boat industry quite a bit. A lot of people are a bit scared to get out there.
It is
once you've got the safety features and the knowledge, you're fine. Like we're out there with a 40 tiller at 10 miles,
Well, the thing what I always said, it was something that said to me years and years ago by a charter skipper, and it stuck with me. And he said, whether you go 1 mile out or 15 miles out, if you're sinking, you're getting wet.
Yeah.
If you break down, you're calling for help. 1 mile out or 15 miles out.
Exactly.
It's all a confidence thing. And it's like, someone goes, yeah, but what if you break down? You don't get in your car every day and go, I might break down today, I better not drive to London. Yeah. You've got confidence in your car to get you there because you've serviced it, you're happy with it. A lot of it comes down to the confidence thing.
Do you run an auxiliary engine?
No, I had it and it snapped off one day and I nearly lost it in rough seas and I was on my own.
Yeah, see, I don't run one either. I don't bother. I keep my engine my engine's looked after.
Yeah, that's what I do. But if something goes wrong, it goes wrong. I broke down the other day in the lanes and I had to stay out the back pumping the fuel bulb. The sensor went in my engine. I had to steam back at 5 knots.
I remember that. I saw the post.
Yeah, I broke down. And the weird thing is I had a conversation in the morning in the lock and someone said, we broke down last week because of fuel. And I went, I hope it doesn't happen to me. And I broke down an hour later. An hour later, I was breaking down. And I was like, for God's sake. But it's Murphy's Law. If something goes wrong, it's going wrong. You might as well go out where the fish are, have a good day, break down, you've had some fish.
If you've got an auxiliary and you're that far, how long is it going to take you to get back? How much fuel are you going to burn?
Also, the tides, if you're on a big tide and you've got a 6 HP bloody auxiliary and you've gone down the tide and you've got to punch it back,
spot, but
you're not going to go nowhere.
It's going to keep you off the rocks and that's it.
Yeah, but coming back to the whole, people go, it's dangerous out there. Those big containers, they see you coming 5 miles away. Yeah. They have got millions of pounds worth of equipment. And if you're talking about safety issues, the biggest thing in safety, Evernorth pings up life jackets. Yeah. Oh, where's your life jacket? You've got to wear a life jacket. That's it. Well, how many boats do you know of? Or if you went on someone's boat and said, where's your anchor? Now, I'm not anchor fishing today. I haven't brought it with me.
Yeah, but...
Do you know how many times I have that to boats when people are asking me, like, I'm going to go out, what do I need? And I say, well, what anchor you got? Oh, yeah, it's at home. We're not anchoring today, we're drifting. So anchor is one of the biggest safety equipment on a bit of boat.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, and the amount of times in the calls in the summer on the Coast Guard where they say, right, what's your problem? Yeah, we're broken down, we're drifting.
Yeah.
First thing you do, put your anchor in. Stop the drift.
Yep.
If we're going near the rocks, put your anchor in.
That's it. Brilliant.
We're going to crash into the cliffs.
You can wait there.
We're drifting into the shipping lane. Yeah. Put your anchor in.
You know, an interesting point with that as well is like, I only found out recently with Pantanius, that's who I pay my insurance with.
Yeah.
But without an anchor, my insurance is void.
Fire blanket.
So, loads of things.
Fire blanket can void your insurance.
Bungs as well.
I didn't know that until I looked at my policy. So silly little things can void. Having a fire blanket on board can void your insurance. And that's a 10 quid item from eBay. Not having an anchor on can void your insurance. Yeah. And everyone goes, oh, but it's all well and good until you need it.
Yeah.
See, I've always got my anchor on board, and I've got not a lot of chain, probably 10 foot, but I've got 400 foot of rope. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter where I am out there, I can launch an anchor over the side. Because we're never in more than where we are, generally fishing, 220 foot of water.
Yeah, same with us,
yeah. So I've got 400 foot of rope. It's only cheap Chinese rope, but it does the job.
It doesn't matter.
It's in a locker.
The idea is to stop you.
Comes from there anyway.
Yeah.
The idea is to stop you. Because everyone, you see it on the small boat fishing page, there was a debate about life jackets and stuff. And I wanted to comment, but I didn't. I'm like, how many people have done a radio course? How many people have done a sea? But there you go.
I've done my sea survival. I've done my 5 tickets to get on a commercial boat.
Yeah, same here.
But I haven't done a radio.
Everyone thinks that a life jacket is the stopgap and the be all and end all for safety on a boat. But there are people out there who cannot. I mean, you're obviously competent, right? But how many people don't know how to use a radio? Someone asked on the small boats page, and this is not me digging them out. And if it is you, I'm sorry. What channel is the emergency channel on a radio?
Shouldn't even be
Someone asked that on the small boats page, and he got torn a new one. And obviously, other people did say, look, 16, maybe look at doing a radio course. But I've seen those sort of people, and again, I'm not digging that particular person out. They're like, where's your life jacket? But then they wouldn't know how to use a radio, the proper Mayday procedure.
Should you wear a life jacket?
Like, well, this is a thing.
Because I don't.
No. So,
I'll be the first one to admit
Right, so I'll address it because it was a problem with someone, and I won't name him, and we're all good terms, and you've had him on the show. But someone made a comment about a life jacket to Cox and Rule. And I had to explain to Mark Hamlet, the guy, I said, well, look, what these people don't realise is that actually I've had a life jacket drown me, nearly. The buoyancy, because of my lower legs, I did a test with a life jacket, and it put me face forward. I had to fight and get up, and I got my balance point, and that was it. So I went through a phase of thinking, well, this could actually kill me. And I had a bad experience on a commercial boat where I was flaking a net through the flaker, and the toggle got caught in a mesh and nearly put me in. There was a guy in Brighton, I think it was Brighton, the boat overturned in a bad weather. He was in the wheelhouse, and it went off in the wheelhouse and pinned him to the roof. And he drowned. Life jackets are mega important. That they are, and I'm not
in the right environment.
Your viewers will be here tutting. I can hear the tuts already. Wear a life jacket. I now wear one because actually, if something did happen, I want to be found. Yeah. Is the main thing. Because otherwise, going back to insurance, if they don't find a body, you have to wait 7 years for your insurance payout.
Right. Okay. Didn't know that.
So if you go down, because that was one of the driving factors for me as someone that's got kids, and I believe you have as well, is if you sink on a boat and your body's not found, if you've got a life insurance, they will not pay out for 7 years. So your family, if you've got the mortgage cover in that, paying your mortgage, your bills, your business, your kids' inheritance, they will get no money until your body is found. So that is one of the reasons why, again, I started wearing a life jacket. For that reason.
I do think if you're going to wear one, just wear it properly, because a lot of people like slap it on for, but you got the strap that goes under. If you don't have that on, weight goes down, buoyancy goes up.
Well, there's a few channels that do it, and you're not here to pick holes in people, but if you're going to preach safety, do it right. Yeah. Have the crotch strap on, and then the spin lock ones that go around your waist. Yeah. Right. Go on their website. I looked at those because I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to look at different options because I do look at. I really look into stuff on their website. This is not a life jacket. Yeah. On their website, this is not a life jacket. It is a flotation device. It doesn't have the same Newton capacity. If you go in, it will not keep you afloat like a life jacket. It will make you semi-buoyant.
It'll help you out. I think they're mainly designed, aren't they, sort of designed around the paddleboard industry? A lot of them kind of like, since the paddleboard came along, they sort of started to come around. I'm not sure because obviously, I'm quite unique in the fact that I do have, my buoyancy is shot to shit because I've got no lower legs. Yeah.
I can swim really well. I'm actually a really good swimmer, and I just, sounds really weird, but I kick with what's left of my legs. But I'm strong and I can swim and I'm fit. But when it comes to the buoyancy thing, someone said, going back to, a comment was made about, oh, why is he not wearing a life jacket? But actually, they don't know the backstory that actually it's nearly drowned me before. So actually, it might not have the same effect. And that wouldn't be the same for you because you've got legs, I don't. It's a different situation.
Yeah, see, I've just never worn one. But then I had an incident recently where obviously now we've got stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Mike from Petros Grandes, he was with an MCA guy, and the MCA guy turned around and goes, "Oh, you know the lad from Tuna Gear?" He's like, "Yeah, he's a good mate of mine. Tell him to wear a life jacket." So people see it that I didn't even register. So now if I'm doing filming, I'm going to make the conscious effort.
People watch you more than you think they do.
Yeah.
People always tell us.
When you start getting sponsors on, it becomes more prevalent as to what you are doing, what you are saying. Yeah.
See, I'm lucky. I'm head of the sponsorship board as well.
Well, there you go.
So it's not so
you're
bad.
all good. You're your own police. But like for me, now, like obviously I've got Simpson Marine. I work for Cox and Rule.
Work for Sidewinder.
And I'm Sidewinder Pro Team now.
So let's move on. So how did you end up with Sidewinder?
Sidewinder. Okay, so I've always used their stuff. Big fan of them.
Shout out Sam Kiddie, legend of a bloke.
Amazing guy. Yeah, I'm going there.
Calls me Rogan all the time.
Is he? Rogan?
Yo, Rogan. That's all I get.
Joke.
He's super friendly, isn't he, Sam?
Yeah, he's good.
Recently.
I've always used their stuff, and since I started filming, when you start getting some sort of following, companies want to throw stuff at you, and I had a few different lure companies say, try these out and do this, and you're not ungrateful, you take it, you use it, and it was always like, yeah, that's okay, but I'm not one of these people. There are fishermen out there who will take whatever they can get, tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread, someone will give us something the next week, and that will then become the next thing, and I'm not like that. I know what I like, I know what works and doesn't work. Sidewinder, it just works. Above all else, it just works.
Tried and tested, isn't it?
It's tried and tested, and I used to tag them in things, and it was just like, not to be like her, it was just I like your stuff.
Yeah.
There was never any like messaging privately saying, oh, can I get some freebies? Never hawking for anything. No. It was just, I've got your stuff, I like it, look what it's caught. That's all it was. And he sent me a few lures out and a few bits and bobs. There was a funny story I used to take, I still do, a guy called Dino out. And it was on my boat, my marks, I was the brains behind all the catches. And he had some nice pollock, I was getting nice pollock. And he got sent a jumper and some lures. And he rub it into me? And I was like, hang on a minute, I'm the skipper, why are you getting this? And there was a running joke for ages. And then one day, Sam sort of, he reached out and said, do you want some lures? Really like we're doing, have a hoodie. Best hoodies in the world, by the way.
They are very nice.
So good.
They're like really, like a heavy duty hoodie, but super light.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of them.
Getting really passionate about a hoodie, but they're really nice hoodies.
Well, I was really disappointed with my Tuna Gear hoodies after I put the Sidewinder hoodies on.
So that was that. Anyway, he sent me the lures, and of course then I went out and caught fish on them, and he got them on my Instagram. There's some there. It's all, the bass and whatever. And I got made cover photo on there at one point with a bass of mine, and then one day he reached out and he said, look, really like the fish you're having. He said, want to run something by you? And I said, yeah, cool, go for it. He said, I'm thinking about starting a pro team next year. It's all hush-hush, it's very secret. He said, we've got one other guy at the minute, a guy called Adrian, local guy, I think. He said, he's a bit of a legend. We've got one other guy, but we're going to get a few more on. But he said, we want you in. He said, done deal, no ifs or buts, we want you in the team. I was like, oof, yeah, cool, happy days. Because back as a kid, when you're reading the magazine, sponsored anglers were like, they were the holy grail. You worship the ground they walked on. I wouldn't walk on the ground I've walked on before because it's dangerous. but it's you worship the ground they walked on, and I was like, I'm not worthy of that. I'm not worthy of that pro team. In quote,
the thing is, you are though because of what you've been doing. Because when you look at what you do, it's quality stuff.
Yeah. I try my best.
And you've done it for the love of it, though. Like you said, you're not hawking for stuff.
Love of the game.
There's some people that are putting their videos up, and they're fishing for likes. They're not fishing for. I think because you put something up for your kids, I think that comes across in a different way.
It's snowballed. I've only got, I think I'm 3,200 now, so I'm a small channel, and I will always be a small channel, I think, because the boat for YouTube, there's so many. I'm one of the new people.
It's very hard to get 3,000 followers. We're up to what? 200 and something, and
it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort. We'll come on to perhaps touch on YouTube and the pros and cons in a bit, maybe. But going back to Sam's, and I don't want to take anything away from Sam. He said, this is part of the team. Get you on. As the months went on, I think he messaged me April last year. I think it was, or maybe earlier. We just finished the bass and pollock season, and we had a good little session. And he's like, get on board. And he said, look, and then he rang me up, and one day he said, I'm thinking about asking Jake, Muscle Fishing on.
Yeah.
You've had on before. Jake's a really good friend of mine. And he said, what's your opinion? And I said, you won't go wrong. Hard-working guy.
Fucking the lad's like the Duracell bunny. He just don't stop.
Yeah, well, he's become
wired different. He's a legend of a lad.
He's become a really good friend of mine, Jake, and he works so hard. He'd be the first to tell you he is Marmite to some people, but he is a hard-working guy. And I was over the moon when Sam said we're going to get him on, because I get to share him what I'm doing with one of my buddies, and we fish a lot.
He's a really nice lad.
He is a nice lad, yeah.
Like super. What's the word? Calling him a sweetheart, it's a bit gay, but he's just a really nice.
He would take that.
Yeah,
he would take that.
He probably, he's a real. Yeah, well done. There you go. No, not so gay. He's a real genuine lad.
He just wants to fish.
He does.
He just wants to fish, and there's a lot of negativity in the YouTube world and the social media presence, and we'll come on to it. But he just wants to fish. And when I heard he was going to be in the pro team as well, we rung each other up. And we were like little school kids because we still got that passion for fishing. It meant something to us. And Sam said, "Come down and we'll sign a contract." I was like, "Oh my God, contract!"
I remember that. Yeah, I remember.
So he took us out. He took us for a meal down on the beach there, and we signed the contract and went back and we took photos like Premiership footballers.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
We made it, and we made a big deal out of it. And the biggest thing I can say now, having got to know Sam, and I've met Dave a few times, and I've been down there, and I'm going there in a minute, is take the fishing out of it, take the lures out of it. They are nice people.
Yeah, they are
good, genuine, down to earth people. When we got the brief, I said, "Look, what's the prerequisites? What are we doing? This is how much lures you're getting, but don't worry about it. Have what you want. This is come down, have dinner. It's on me. Blah blah blah. Let me welcome down any time. Cup of tea's always on. Just walk in the door." That was what they was. I was like, "What do you need from me? Have you got a sort of a list of content that you need or want?" He said, "Ben, just go fishing." Yeah. That was the brief. Just do what you are doing.
Can you?
Just go fishing, because I had something come up. Before this, I had a company show an interest in me, and it fell through on their part. And they said, "Well, you have to use our rods, you have to use our reels, you have to use our this." It was quite a big company in Europe, and it all fell through quite sourly in the end because they just didn't get back to me over something. I later found out their budget had gone out their arse. And instead of having 8 people on, they could only get 1. And they chose someone else. And that really, at the time, that really got me down. But I didn't say anything, I kept it all quiet. But it was a blessing in disguise, because had I had that and been tied in, when Sam then came along, I would have been stuck tied into a contract with a company that I didn't know much about. They're a European company in England as well, with loads of different umbrella companies and big budgets and stuff. But everyone was cutting back, and I wouldn't have been able to take Sam on. But now it's just, can't tell you how grateful I am to have the backing of someone like Sidewinder. It's just.
And you've got Cox and Rule.
So I work for Cox and Rule. So
as in you've got a PAYE job with them, or
no, I'm self-employed.
Right,
the work I do is self-employed. I do their online stuff. Online, I have got a job title, but it's not coming to me now. Online sales coordinator. There we go. It sounds fancy. I'm just in charge of online.
We need one of those.
I know. So I did that. That came about by chance as well. And again, Mark Hamnet, owner, such a nice guy, really good. And I've used Cox and Rule stuff again. It was a no-brainer for me. It was like
tried and tested again, isn't it?
Tried and tested. It is quality stuff, and the conversation around that came. I could offer a service, online sales, and on Amazon was the platform, and other various bits and bobs that I can offer. By default, you become an ambassador. Although you don't have that, we do have an ambassador and a pro team program, quote unquote. But when you work for a company, by default, you represent that company. You're an ambassador. So, I get to do that as well. We get a nice tackle allowance and I get paid. It's a dream job for me because it's in the industry that I'm passionate about. I know the products, and it all goes hand in hand. So it's all sort of fallen in place really since then.
So you've got the Marina.
Mm-hmm. Simpson Marine.
Simpson Marine. You've got Cox and Rule. You've got Sidewinder.
Yeah. That's it at a minute.
Okay. Not missing any out.
No, that is it. No, I don't. No, I don't. Like I don't go hawking. Because I just buy my own stuff. I'm not bothered. I'll go and buy what I need, and that's it. As we've got further down the line now, and the YouTube's gone away, it's still for the kids. It's still for my own benefit. But now there is certain I want to get videos out for the people. And Ben, UK Fish Slayer, mentioned it the other. Listening to his stuff on the way down, he mentioned it like people
listening to his podcast.
Yeah, on the way down. Yeah, well, I've listened to a few now, and it's
wicked.
5-hour journey down. I'll stick them on because normally it's in the gym bit here between and whatever I'm doing. So I had it on all the way down. So he mentioned it is what you don't see, and it only gets more and more as you get bigger and bigger. And I'm still a small channel. I'm not egging that up. But you get so many inbox messages that people do not see. So much time is dedicated to helping people off our own backs. You're not paid for any of that. You know, no one wants any money for it. But it's such a nice feeling to have someone ask for help, to be able to assist them. And whenever I do this, I always say to them, if someone leaves a comment on YouTube or sends me a message asking for help, I always leave it with, please do come back and tell me how you got on.
Yeah.
Please. It's quite a time-consuming thing, that, isn't it? Taking that time out to message everybody.
Yeah, it is.
It's the right thing to do.
You know, I've got time. I am privileged that, you know, not lucky that I've been blown up, because that's very unlucky. But I have a lot of time on my hands. But I have commitments. But I can do this, and I do give as much time as possible to people that ask for help. I will help. Ask anybody. 99.9% of the people in my marina will tell you Ben can't do enough for anybody that asks, because that's the bottom line. But there's always something in my inbox on YouTube or where it's all, how do I do this? What do I do? And if I can help someone, then I will. It's that simple.
It's very nice. It's a shame that everybody's not like that in fishing.
Yeah. Do you know what? I find it frustrating. I've had a couple of messages just last week, actually. Someone asked for help. And by sheer coincidence, I'd also asked Jake for help as well. Same questions, fishing our local area, and they were trying to pick as many people's brains as possible. I appreciate the hustle. I like that. Give a few little marks out locally inshore, not any secret marks. Go there. If fish is on the flood tide, don't bother the ebb, it's pointless because this. And he said, you're so helpful. He said, I asked so-and-so the other week for some help down a different area of the country, and he was rude, arrogant, and I didn't get a good vibe from him. He said, it's nice to have a fisherman, me and Jake, who are so out there and polite. And I was like, I don't ever want to get to the point where I am rude to somebody or I don't give them time. You know, I get stopped out in the shops now, down the marinas, and if I can give time to anybody, I will. I don't ever want to get to the point where it affects my personality, to the point where I become rude. And
people get an ego about it and think they're just the big I am. It's nice to be nice. You know, it's nice to be nice. Can you help someone? Can you do this? I've had the same sort of stuff now with Tuna Gear. Like, I've never claimed to be some tuna fishing expert or done these videos on how to do this and how to do that. But I've got lads message me all the time going, oh, I'm looking at this rod, I'm looking at this reel, what about this line, what about this braid? Some guys have even said, oh, I'm live local to you. Instead of posting it, can I come and pick the bars up? Yeah, so they turn up, they got rods and reels in their hands, and they're like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And you're like, oh.
That is only a compliment.
Yeah.
That is only a compliment that they trust your opinion enough to.
It's a funny thing, though, isn't it?
I find it weird. I mean, I had someone. It was the first time it's happened to me, and again, it's not an ego thing that I'm saying it. But I was in the lock and I could see a boat in front of me. And there was an adult and two kids on there, and they were like whispering and they were doing this behind. I was behind them, and I was putting the mooring ropes on. I kept seeing this kid's heads come out from behind the boat, and they were whispering. And then the dad did it. I was like, what's going on? And they all got up onto the walkway and said, can we have a photo with you? I was a bit like, what do you mean? I was like, what for? Yeah, a bit defensive. It's how we watch your YouTube, and their dad watches it, and we're a big fan. And I was like, yeah, cool. So I had two kids in the lock at Eastbourne, and then the guy taking a photo so they could go and post it on Facebook and show their dad. And I sent it straight to my missus. I said, I just want to ask for a photo. And it's like, for me, I'm like, something that's going right, because there is a negative side to online stuff and YouTube, and unfortunately, it's easy to get sucked into it. And YouTube's a funny old beast because you get sucked into the numbers. We've already had a discussion about followers and stuff. You'd be surprised how many people are buying followers and subscribers. It would blow your mind.
We called somebody out the other day who will rename nameless. I was having the conversation with you. Maybe they might be in the same market that we're in.
Oh, yeah.
You rumbled somebody at it.
Yeah,
guaranteed, because I'm quite... So, like, I hate social media, but I embrace social media because I need it for brand awareness. That's all I use it for. I have no personal social media. And we've been working particularly hard on what we're doing with high-end video, all this sort of stuff. And then I check everybody else's social media, and I was like, how have they jumped from that when I've only jumped this much with all this high-end video work, and they've jumped that much, and they've put 4 posts up in 3 weeks? I was like, someone's been buying followers.
Do you know what? When I first started it, and it was all, I didn't care about any numbers. It was purely documented for the kids and my own personal stuff. And as you start getting into it, you start thinking, I've gained some this week. That video did well. You start looking at it more. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how someone went from 200 to 2,000 overnight. I think, or a video has suddenly got thousands of views, and you think, well, yeah, that's not, no disrespect to the videoer. It's not a good video, but that doesn't mean people don't like it. It's very subjective, YouTube, you know.
I had one like that the other day, though. We were out, the first time I took you out fishing, I've got a test bar. It's just pink and greens, and I'm going, all the video is my hand going, no, that's a test bar, you can't see it. Then I take my hand away, it pops out the wall, there's no fish on it, it's up to 265,000 views.
But it's not to say that you can't have a viral video.
It's mad.
But when they're consistently getting... They reckon you get, whatever your subscriber count is, they reckon about a third is normally about what your average views should be. So my average views now, because I've got free, they're sitting at about 1,000 a video.
Yeah.
The last one, Squid Fishing and Shore, I got 1,500, give or take. I have one that's done 65,000. It was a commercial fishing video, and it leaped because someone else did a commercial fishing video around the same time.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I won't go into that. But
yes, they did. I know the video you're talking about.
He said
might have been congering off of Rex.
No,
it wasn't that one.
No, same.
Same thing.
That person messaged me in the morning and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing a new series on commercial fishing," and they'd obviously been doing it as well. I won't mention names. Might get a phone call on the way home after this. It's not to annoy anybody. But I got accused.
You won't get this phone call for about 4 weeks.
I got accused of copying content and all sorts, and I was like, "Well, this is my background. This is what I've come from. Literally since I was 8 years old. This is what I do.
I'm a commercial fisherman.
I used to own a commercial fishing business. Is what I'm going to film.
Everyone's inspired by something. Do you know what I mean?
It's not copying to share your experience.
Do you know what I mean? Like with YouTube as well, people out there claim to be. I want to inspire people. I want to make people better, and then they complain when people get better and they've been inspired by their stuff. Yeah, you're copying me. No, it's just. But YouTube baffles me, and there's people out there, like I said, with the buying and that of subscribers. It's a false economy anyway. It's a total false economy. If I'd rather have 200 genuine subscribers than one of those. A competitor goes out and buys 2,000 because it's just an ego thing. You want to wake up in the morning and go, I've got 2,000. It's 2,000 from India and China and Pakistan.
I don't think people...
None of them are watching your stuff.
Though, like that. It's not like it used to be, you know? You go on and you see quality sometimes. Well, like yours, the growth on your Instagram recently, it's not like massively jumped, but it's growing. And it's organic.
So
people see quality, don't they?
I get about 80 new subscribers a month at the minute.
Is this on YouTube or
on YouTube? Instagram's a tough beast.
That's pretty good, though.
It's okay. Do you know what? My YouTube is growing consistently. The videos have been slow lately because the weather's been poor. And then the squid fish has died because it's got murky now. So the videos are hard to come by, and I can't film the bass sessions I've been doing. We spoke about it beforehand. Yeah. It's not my marks to film or give away. So and I would never do that for people. I wouldn't do. I'm not bothered about a video. If I can get content, I'll put it out. If I can't, that's just tough. But like it's all about the watch time. You want to pay more attention to your watch hours because that's a metric that you want to be paying attention to. You could have 200 subscribers, but be getting 1,000 hours watch time. Someone could have 1,000 subs be monetized, but only be getting 200 watch hours.
Yeah.
So people are more interested in your stuff because they're watching it for longer, more. They're watching it back. Someone, another channel where he's almost identical in subscribers to me, he put something up about his watch time the other week. And he's someone I think may have bought some at some point, and he does a lot of shorts, spam shorts, like bang, bang, bang. That's it. But he put his watch time up and it was 850, I think it was. And I thought, I wonder what mine, because I knew he had the same sub. Mine was at 2,000. So actually, the subs might be the same, but the watch time is significantly more watch time. That's not a measure of anything other than the fact that people are watching the content.
Yeah.
So whether you've got 200 subs or 2,000, it's what the feedback you're getting on Facebook, the pictures you're getting of the tuna. You've been down at the tuna competition recently, haven't you? Your gear's everywhere. That's more of a measure.
It's everywhere.
It's more of a measure than 200 YouTube subscribers is. There's more to it.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook, we're floating around. We're just coming up to 1,000 followers. We've got about, 350 likes. Instagram, we're at a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
You've sprung up 100 in the space of a week or so.
Something like that.
For the amount of people we got with the content we put out, I would say, like I went straight in with the big brand mentality.
Yeah.
I was like, when we first dropped our first real high end video, I maybe had 84 likes on Facebook, and they're all my mates and people have gone, just go and follow. We hadn't even dropped the brand yet, but the first video we dropped, I was like, I want to go in big brand mentality. I want a videographer. I can't film myself. I've got no editing skills. I've got no time. Like I was...
Even with all those, it's so hard though still. I'm filming on 2 GoPro 9s. And I've got the underwater stuff, the water.
I've just bought the Insta-X4.
So I'm looking at getting one of those because I want it for underwater stuff.
500 quid. That's Mordecai's fault. I'm blaming you, Dave. He was like, oh, we need to get some more cameras on the boat. I'm going to get an X4. And I just fired up on Amazon, just went, buy it now. Went, mine's going to be here by 10 o'clock tonight. 5 weeks later, has he bought one? No.
What you got to be careful of with that. that Insta360's got a couple of different modes.
I keep fucking it up. You get all these weird...
Mate, just be careful because I sit and watch some of it. I don't get seasick, but we sit there if you've got it where it's just like that...
Oh no, so I bolt mine onto the rail on the top.
No, but you can have follow mode, so it's like doing this all around the boat.
I don't do that, so I put it on like the wide mode, and it picks up the whole of my deck. So all I do is, I've got my phone weighted down there, and as soon as like the bars go out, I just hit record on my phone, and I'm watching it on my phone in the wheelhouse, and you can see exactly what that camera's seeing, and it doesn't move.
No, that's good.
I've just got one angle, and that is it, and then I've got him running around with a camera in your face like that.
Yeah, so I thought about getting one for the underwater stuff, because you get a 360 view. I've just made up a little rig now that I've seen. The universities have got one that's about 6 foot wide and it's massive, about the size of that telly. It's huge. And they mount a camera to it with like a baited tube on the end. So I thought, well, how can I? Because I'm a strong guy, but I can't walk with stuff. I can't lift heavy stuff and walk with it because of the legs. I'll trip over and whatever. So I've made like a really condensed down one out of like rebar, and I'm going to put a camera on it. I want to get a 360 to get the spin, looking what's behind the camera, not just in front of it. So yeah, I'll see. I might get one. I'll see.
Yeah, they're all pricey, but yeah, it was Dave Mordecai's fault. I use it for a fraction of of what you can actually do with that camera.
Yeah.
It's a nice bit of kit, though.
I've seen them used. I'll get one. I invest, like, don't earn much on YouTube as it is anyway, but anything I do get goes back into the business anyway, like business to YouTube, as in, like, you buy it, and I'm self-employed, so I can expense it back anyway. But I suppose you probably do the same.
Here's a little tip with cameras. Use what you got. Because it's so easy to look for the next one.
Yeah,
I've
phones.
You just bought that in Netflix.
I've got a lot of cameras, like a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they ain't cheap, and lenses and galore. And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I need this next one. I'm like my last one actually does exactly the same. I'm trying to compress these files and reduce the size of the export and things like that. I don't actually need the quality nowadays. Instagram's 1080. I'm buying 5K cameras. What's the point? Like,
overkill. Yeah.
There's some people are doing stuff on their mobile phones. You know. Like,
you can. There's people with million followers on YouTube that are filming off a mobile phone.
Use what you got.
There were some lads in carp fishing. They were called the iPhone carpers.
Yeah.
Everything was done on an iPhone. I used to record all my feet. Like I wasn't like vlogging or anything like that, but I used to have a cheap tripod from Amazon, like $3.99. I used to wedge my phone on it, stand it on a bucket, and do all my catch photos on a video.
That's it.
And then I'd screenshot it out. That's all I ever used to do.
That's all I do, screenshot it.
And that was the cheapest setup I've ever had.
And it works.
Yeah, I did. I started doing some little bits to camera. Just because you're watching it all the time, aren't you? You're watching Nash, you're watching Calder, all this sort of stuff. I started doing some little bits and pieces, and it's never seen the light of day. But off of a $3.99 tripod, sat on a bucket with a phone, it works.
Phones now are brilliant. In fact, I used for a professional company the other day. I used an iPhone, not even the latest one. It's a 13 Pro Max, and I used it on a professional company's account. I learned that from other people, but like mixed in with a few high-res bits and bobs. And
you've got to show you're earning your money. Use a proper camera.
But they're good.
It's the quality of it is so good these days. Everything's just so... The new iPhone is probably ridiculous.
The new one coming out is crazy.
It's ridiculous. So,
lads want to know about the journey and the story behind the fishing as well. It's not so much... I think you can get away with the quality sometimes when you're doing fishing videos and things. You don't need that high-end, polished...
Think of the book we just read. All about the story, isn't it?
Think about the book we just read. That is a very important story. Yeah, it's a marketing book.
Yeah,
but it talks about the story in there, and I'll tell you about it afterwards. We're not giving all our trade secrets.
Yeah, fine.
But it's a very good book. But it basically the story, like everything is a story.
One.
Oh, there's always one with a phone in there. Lads want to know about the story, the journey, like what's going on in that.
YouTube is so subjective, not unless you sell ice cream, not everyone's going to like you. It doesn't make a difference.
Even if you sell ice cream, some
will moan.
Some like Cornish ice cream, some like Mr. Whippies like me.
So you've got there's certain styles that you will resonate to. That I was watching a video yesterday and someone was complaining about the music. People put music over their videos, whether it be soft music or hardcore music. Whatever.
I like drum and bass.
Well, yeah, but see, some people don't, and you might think it's brilliant. And you'll have a little core following of people that love that. Then you'll also have another group of people that cannot stand it and will not watch you purely because of the music. Right. You cannot win. No matter what you do, you're never going to please anybody, especially on social media.
But you can't do that in life, though, can you?
And I think the quicker people realise that, when it comes to the YouTube and social media side of it, life becomes so much better when you, stop caring what other people think and realise that not everyone's going to clap when you win, because they don't.
No.
You know, I notice more when the sidewinder stuff, I don't shout about it. I did an initial post about it because I was proud and I've earned it and I've got the right to do that. And I put it once on my Facebook thing. And obviously we've got the clothing, so anyone walking around will see it. But that was it. I haven't put pro team in my bio or anything like that. Nothing against people that have, but I don't shout about it. But when I did that post, it was more interesting for me to see who didn't say well done than it was for those that said well done.
Yeah.
Because the people who I thought weren't, maybe putting little jibes in behind the scenes, or they were the ones that didn't click the like button and say well done. And me, if someone, it doesn't matter what the achievement is, you might go and win Best Barbecue of the Year. I'd say well done. Don't give a toss about it, but I would say well done because it's an achievement for you. Yeah. But there's people out there who just do not want to see people do well. And I really find that interesting. And when it comes to YouTubing, the quicker you can get out of that mentality of everybody's got to like me, and then when you look at the studio, you see someone's put a down thumbs down. Don't dwell on it. Just move on and just go, okay, yeah, fine. Not everyone's going to like what you do.
I've got a theory on it anyway.
We don't have that conversation,
we don't look at it. No. Like Rogan says, don't read the comments. We get, I take it in and I see what's on there.
Yeah.
But I've got, like with negativity, there's people that are negative. It's because they're in a dead-end job. Mm-hmm. They're not happy in life. The wife doesn't love them, the kids don't respect them, and all they are is surrounded in negativity. And the only thing that can come out of them is negativity. Yep. I'm a very positive person.
Yeah, of course.
Especially since I've been with like the boys tuna fishing this year and this WhatsApp group we're in. The positivity, well, you see what comes out of it, don't you?
Yeah, that's good.
Like he was down in Falmouth with us. We had a big Airbnb together. Yeah, nice. We're all in one house. You could see our boats on the marina. The marquee was there and everyone was just buzzing all weekend, weren't they?
It was fun, yeah.
If you surround yourself with good people, it just vibes. They say
surround yourself with 5 bumholes, you'd be the 6.
That's it. I was just about to say it.
Surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you'd be the 6.
Average of the 5 people you hang around with.
I said to my eldest daughter all the time, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a massive believer in that.
I am as well. And it's brought, if you look at people, little circles that you know, it's exactly the same. And the negativity side of it, there's 1 or 2 people who give me a thumb down. It could be the best video in the world. I will get a thumb down from it because there's people that don't like you as a person. Yeah. And you'll get a thumb down. You think,
imagine actually having to do that though. Imagine being that terrible. You've got to go, I don't like him.
But they're silly because the YouTube algorithm realises that they're doing it. The YouTube algorithm isn't stupid. And if you're giving a thumb down to every video, sometimes they're going on there, clicking thumb down, not even watching the video. YouTube realises that they're being a knob and just doesn't count it in their algorithm factors. YouTube's not stupid. They put millions and millions into it to figure out what you and you want to watch. That's why you get shown the content you want to watch. Yeah. So and the negativity side of it, people just, it doesn't bother you. Give me 10 more of them. I don't care. I'm still going to go make tomorrow's video.
So what's going to be, what's the future then for the Amputee Angler? Where's it going to be going? What do you want to do within fishing? Is there some boxes still to tick? Is there?
Do you know what? The key thing for me of anything I do in the fishing is I've got to be enjoying it. I don't care what it is I'm doing. The enjoyment has to be there. I just want to keep enjoying what I'm doing. Goals-wise, I've got myself fish targets that I want to catch. Like we got ling, the odd ling down West Country. They're 2 a penny. Yeah. Up our way, they got overfished and there's not many about, but they are about because I've seen them on the dive videos, so I know they're still there. I want to catch a Sussex ling. I don't want to come down to Cornwall and do it on a charter boat. It's got to be by my own hand.
What about Devon?
Devon, I want to catch it in my own turf.
Yeah.
That's one. Fresher sharks, we've got them up our way. I want to learn how to do that. Tuners, we've got tuna up our way.
You want to speak to Dave Mordecai
Yeah,
about
I need
fresher
to
sharks?
pick Dave's brains.
About
really.
that was an absolute. We were there that day. We got.
Of course you were. All drone stuff.
We got the radio call.
Yeah.
He was all excited, wasn't he? In Twitch, he going, and we got a really big tuna on. It's a big girl. It's a big girl.
Wait, no, it's not. I don't think it's a tuna.
it's a fresher.
So for me, like, I've got this thing about I have to do it by my own hand. I've chosen the marks. It's my gear.
Yeah.
I've done it. I don't want to hop on a charter boat, catch a tuna. Nothing against charter boat.
Yeah.
I want to do it. I want to learn how to do it from good people. I want to have my own gear that I've bought, and I want to go out and go, do you know what? I think they're going to be here today, and I want it to come good. I might blank 10 times, but when it goes right, I'll have that pat on the back. I did it.
I've done that so many times. When I first started tuna fishing, could I catch them? Could I bollocks? And I was getting loads of grief from my mates.
Yeah.
And they're like, why don't you go and jump on a charter boat? I was like,
it's just not
yeah,
the
but
same
I'm not going to take that skill set and then put it back on my boat again. I was like, I need to do this. And I did it.
Yeah.
And then once I did it, that was it.
You learn more that way, I think. I mean, I'm a big fan of charter boating. I'm a massive fan of it, and I've got a lot of friends who are charter.
100%.
Not taking that away from them, but I'm experienced enough, and I've got my own boat, and I want to go and do these things on my own. I don't want to go and travel to catch a fish and say, I've caught one of them, when you get 10 of them, 20 of them at a time down here, the ling, for example, whatever it's going to be. I want to do it where it means something. If I post a ling up, and I got it could be a £10 ling, small one, everyone down West Country will be like, well, don't mean nothing. But anyone in Sussex will know that's an achievement. I want to be like good for where I am.
Yeah.
I want to know every fish movement. I want to know on this day, on this tide, on this weather, or whatever, I know where them fish are going to be. And I want to just do well in my local area. That's my main goal, is to just keep doing what I'm doing there. Sponsorship-wise, you know, I've got the hooks with Cox and Raw, although it's a working relationship with them. Sidewinder, I want to keep doing well for Sam and the boys there, because they're good people. I would, you know...
You've been doing a lot more jigging.
Slow jigging?
Yeah, slow
I love a
jigging
bit of
with
slow
their
jigging.
stuff.
Yeah, I love a bit of slow jigging. So, Chinese John, my mate, he built me a jigging rod. And it's something I've done. It's Perk and Feathers back in the day. It was Perk and Feathers, but the perks...
commercial bass.
The perks were £2 long bits of golf shaft with two feathers above it, and you had to use a broom handle because of the size of the weights. You know, as in like a rod, you had to use a £50 class rod, otherwise you wouldn't get the gear up. All they've done now,
it's just refined, isn't it?
It's just refined. It's the sport now. Look at the Sidewinder stuff. It's a tiny little bit of rubber with a hook and a tiny bit of lead in it, because that's how I've got baited feathers on my boat are banned. Unless I'm catching bait, I don't let anybody fish for fish in loose brackets with baited feathers, because I see that as not sportsmanlike. I don't want to go and put baited feathers on and go, yeah, I've got free gurnard, I've got free pollock over a wreck or whatever. I want to go and catch them on a little light spinning rod with a little tiny sidewinder lure on a 2, 3, 4 ounce lead or whatever. I don't want to put 6 hooks down. I'm long lining at that point. So for me, that's my own thing. But the slow jigging now it's great to see the boom, and Dave's a big advocate of it, you know, and he's been doing it for years all over the place. Dave Mordecai, he's been doing it all over the place. Yeah. Then you got Matt Forrester as well.
Yeah, we went out and did a trip with Matt, and I had my eyes open to it.
Yeah.
So I've gone out with what I thought was like my slow pitch.
I heard your story on the way down about it.
With the braids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gone over the side. I've put this, I fish heavy with everything I do. Even when I'm tuning, the boys are using like £130 braid, £150 top shot. I'm using £200, £225. So I've chucked this line out, and Matt's gone, that won't work.
It's thick.
Yeah, too thick. And I'm like,
That's tight.
fucking what are you on about? Like, and he put this like spider's web line down, and my line gone.
That's the difference.
And he was like, even the clip on the end makes it. And he was like, you know,
But see, Matt's, I mean, I've never met Matt. He's invited me down to fish on the boat, but he's a purist, and he is very, very good at what he does. But also, I use a tiny little clip on my lures, and I have a level wind, pen squall, level wind reel.
I need level wind. I can't be doing that.
No, but see, I can do that, but the reels, the pen squall is so refined, because it's something to do with how fast the line goes down as well. Like when you're letting it on free spool, it's how quick that jig goes down. Well, you can adjust it by flicking it another 10 foot further up the boat, or stopping your drift slightly shorter. So actually your weight, you know, when the line's level, you're already on the wreck and you're jigging. So that's purist slow jigging will say, no clip, tie it direct to the thing, put another split ring on it. I had a £15 pollock earlier on in the year on a slow jig, and that was on a pen squall with a tiny little lure clip on it. Now, we've had days where we've had 40, 50 pollock and bass.
That tie-on thing, like 80% of my fishing slow jigging, like doing it for years now. Like Terry from Gigabyte got me into it.
Yeah.
Years ago, the amount I actually lost a nice setup in the Ogden last year, which I'm not going to talk about.
No, go on, let's talk
Still
about
cuts you
it.
deep, that, doesn't it? I can tell.
It was what was it again? That was like a 300 or 400 quid rod. Like
You lost one the other week as well. You've done it
on the same wreck. That was my dad.
Jake lost one the other week as well.
This had a Valiant Boss from Terry.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice reel. It's like
Yeah,
a 500 quid reel.
Yeah.
And I was, I love my camera and my pictures as much as my fishing, if not more.
Yeah.
And the tuna were busting by this wreck like I've never seen before. And I have my 200, 600 mil camera. I want to get a picture of a tuna. I'm still trying to get a better one. I don't think I've got a good enough one. And they're busting as I'm slow jigging over this wreck, which there's some good bass on. And I can't grab the camera quick enough, so I sort of put my rod to the side. With my slow jig only in the water by a couple meters, not much, it's fine, no. So grabbing the camera, taking pictures, what hits the jig?
Oh, no, really?
Goodbye.
Oh, mate.
Stupid of me, but in the heat of the moment,
won't do it again?
I get passionate and I get excited, you know, and I jumped at that camera to get the shots. So it's my own fault. Like, hands up, yeah, I was an idiot, but I won't do it again. But I just love, you know, back to the clip thing, I use tiny little clips and I clip them on all day long and never have no difference. I never don't catch.
It's the purist thing, isn't it? You're doing it wrong and you can't be in that purist club and they will say you're doing it wrong, but I don't profess to be the best slow jig in the world, but I can handle it and I do well with it.
I think we're just vertical jigging.
And we catch a lot of fish. At the end of the day, if you catch fish, don't tell me it's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm catching fish.
Also, slow jigging is, like, when you think about it, they usually work in the whole water column for a lot bigger water columns abroad for pelagics.
Yeah.
Yes, all right, pollock are pelagic, but a lot of our fish are on the bottom. If I'm getting ling, they're dead on the bottom. In fact, I've caught more ling by, little trade tip, by hitting the bottom, lifting up a little bit and hold it there.
Yeah,
just the rock of the boat. That's all it is. In fact, I've caught more doing it that way than moving it.
Yeah.
So technically, am I slow jigging? I'm kind of just holding it there or vertical jigging. I don't know. There's a lot of different methods to it.
Going back to the underwater stuff, is I've learned my preconception of pollock, and the old charter boys just says, pollock always sit right above the wreck, and cod will be down on the bottom, which is true. You know, you do get a lot of cod on the bottom. But those underwater cameras, I've come back from there with my whole mindset changed as to how pollock are on wrecks. One, how they're on with wrecks, and two, how they behave when there's bass on the wrecks. If there's a lot of bass on the wrecks, then pollock do not like it, and they go to ground and they get in that wreck and they hide. I've got videos again on the channel.
Bass.
No, there was that same video where you saw all those bass. There was pollock in there, and I was on the slow jig. I was banging out the bass, bang, bang, but every drop, bang, bang. So many bass, and the other boys, Jake and John, were on the rhubarb and custards trying to get the big pollock. A lot of double figure pollock in there. Yeah. And we did have some nice, probably 10 nice pollock, but the bass were just everywhere, and they would not touch the metals. These pollock bits, they just would not touch it. That's what it was. And when I got home, I said, well, they must be way above the wreck and we're too low down. But it was the opposite. Look back at the footage when I put a sidewinder on to get the, because you can't fish a slow jig with a camera, it doesn't work. And when I got back, the pollock were almost in there, looking out the wreck, looking at the bass and going, nope, and going back in again. They were inside that wreck. And I don't know whether the bass were bashing them with this, because they got the spine behind the gills, haven't they, the bass?
Yeah.
And they're quite aggressive. There was, honestly, thousands of bullied. I came back and I said about it. And I said, just put, because I share find. If I find anything that I think can help other people, I share it. And I did a post about it and I put a little clip of it and I said, I think these pollock do not want to be out there because they're bass are there.
That's interesting.
They were inside the wreck. It was quite a broken up wreck. And there was hardly any swimming around in the bass. And there was so many bass there. And as soon as the jig went down, there was a bomb that was on it or a lure, bass was on it. But a pollock, we just didn't get a chance. They were literally jamming, looking at the wreck over their heads like that. Didn't want to come out.
That's interesting, isn't it?
That was when there was a lot of bass there. Whether it's the same if it's like the other way or it's just whatever. But
you said something interesting about, because I was thinking about it earlier. I was going to ask you about the camera on a slow jig. Is there a way to do that then? Have you thought about that? You must have thought about that.
Yeah, there could be. I've thought about it, but I haven't been interested to try and figure it out yet because I've been trying to tweak the sidewinder stuff. So I used two cameras. I used the Water Wolf 2.0, and then one of the Westin reps said, look, we've got a Westin escape camera. And I went to Sam and said, look, Westin, rival brand, not rival brands, I'll use that term, but there's a clash here. I said, they want to give me a camera. I'm not doing anything with their lures, but I want to film our lures with this camera. We don't do one. Yeah. And Sam went, go for it, go film them lures. And the Westin is really good for the wrecks and the Water Wolf is better for the baits. But the trouble I've got with the slow jigs is because of the natural motion is to want to come up.
Yeah.
I think it will come up and over the camera.
Right.
either tangle up or possibly
Yeah.
you won't get it. It will affect the motion of the jig. Because I've had to learn you have to really increase your reel speed. When you've got the camera on, because you fish such a short trace and the camera's got weight to it, you're reeling at your normal retrieve speed. Yeah. The camera is doing that up and down, so it's taking some of the speed out the retrieve. Sometimes the lure's not moving, and you get the smart Alex on Facebook. You're not reeling fast enough, and like I'm trying to show you.
You've got the camera going on as well as the fishing. It's
make your trace longer. Well, how's your underwater filming going, buddy? So there's a lot of learning with it, but in terms of doing it with a slow jig, there probably is a way, but I haven't tried or had an inkling to look.
I may have to pick your brains and maybe have a try.
Whenever you want. Yeah, I'll show you.
I'd like to stick one in the stinger.
Yeah, I was thinking
so we get a tuna take. We could rig one inside
You'd have to get it underneath the water because it'd be splashing on the surface.
Yeah, but you could do that.
We could do it with one of those alley heads.
Yeah, that you
with the alley heads, or we could do it with
it might
a
take a
weighted
little
stinger.
It might take it. Two problems you may have with that is a tuna might go for it,
and you might lose it.
I've had so many fish go for the cameras.
I was going to try and rig it inside the squid body itself.
That would work. I thought about doing that with a dead bait.
Yeah.
Or a lure on mine because sometimes they'll ignore the lure and go for the camera. I haven't worked out whether because it's got an electric current having a battery in it, whether it's something on the lateral line of the fish that they go for the camera, or whether it's the flashing light, they're seeing the light and they're going for the light.
Fish do like I've asked them with the sharks and take pictures of those, and they do. They'll come. I mean, I've had the camera inside a blue shark's mouth. They love it.
Well, see, the other thing is it's a black silhouette, so underwater it might look like a fish.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm not sure, but if you rigged it inside, that would probably be a good way of doing it, and then you could maybe put some lead flashing or some sort of.
Well, we can put we get the big bullet leads, like 4-ounce bullet leads, and you just rig those up. So we call them weighted stingers. So instead of having your stinger with a float on the surface, chuck a 4-ounce lead in it, it pulls it down underneath. If I chuck 2 4-ounce leads in it, I'll get it like that far under the water.
As long as it's under that water and you're not getting that splash, game on. You will have some serious footage of that as well.
Okay, noted.
Yeah. I'll probably do it sooner rather than later because otherwise there'll be other people who are tuna fishing, not tuna fishing, fresher shark fishing that might try and might try and emulate that. So he
hasn't got a license, you know what
I mean. But that'll be some awesome footage. Sticking it inside there and getting it just below that water surface.
Yeah, okay.
We'll dub that out.
we'll just hold this episode until we've done it.
You can do whatever you want to do, but and when you get them smash ups as well, you can put them on. There's 101 ways you can rig it, but you almost want to, especially with tuna because of the size of them, you want it. How to explain it? You want it braced outside of your main line, so it's not taking any tension.
Yeah.
If it's in line, it's going to pull it off. So you'd have to think about that as well. Don't want it. If I don't make you make them, not me. If there's no tension on that bit where the thing is, you'll be fine.
We can. I can.
There'll be a way of working it.
Just rig around it with the main line and sacrificial one to the camera.
Yeah. We'll crimp some.
One to the camera.
Whip something on there. Crimp a second line on it.
Yeah.
There'd be more than one way to do that, but that would get you some awesome footage. You just almost want it sort of braced down from your line.
2 lines, one to the camera, one carries on to the
100%.
the lure. That way you're going to get the whole thing then.
Yeah, that's it. Don't have it too
if it's
close.
inside the squid, you'd probably have to cut off the the tentacles.
We might even be able to do it, so we run it off the centre bird and just have it back as its own centre flank coming back.
Yeah,
I've got some ideas.
Yeah, I would cut the tentacles off though.
Yeah,
like you said there, just have the mantle.
Yeah, just so.
Otherwise, that'll get in front of your camera and you'll see it and you'll be so frustrated. Eliminate that problem before you start.
Yeah, okay. No,
that will get you some footage. That will get you some stuff.
Because we've got some other ideas, haven't we? Well, a few bits and bobs.
Secret.
Well, what else?
I think we've covered. We've covered quite a lot there. To be fair,
we've covered fishing. We almost had a cry. We fucking.
That was deep. You said to.
Last
minute, he's like, "Do you want to come and join me? Just to chat to someone." I was like, "Yeah." Did not know what I was doing.
Sorry, buddy.
No, it's fine.
Sorry, man.
I'm not good with emotions, so.
you can't tell that.
Yeah, mate. Honestly,
you can't tell that story though, and you have to tell it raw because you can't sugarcoat A, getting blown up. And B, someone dying. You can't sugarcoat that. And it's a fishing podcast, but the one thing I found with the channel is so many people are interested in how it happened. You don't meet everybody every day that's been blown up, and it's nice.
Well, it's a hard question to ask.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just There
You
was
said to me first thing you said on the phone, can you walk? You don't know. People don't know the answers
I
to
didn't
the
want you to
questions.
park too far away. And
Yeah,
I
no.
didn't know how. Yeah, but at the same time, when I first reached out to you to say,
Yeah.
do you want to come on? The last thing I was going to say to you was like, how'd you get your legs blown off?
Yeah.
Or why I know you called the Amputee Angler for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, what happened? I knew the story behind it because I knew Sam.
Yeah.
And Sam had recommended you. He said, you know, blokes bigged you up massively.
Appreciate it.
And
Cheers, Sam.
he said, you know, ex-commercial fisherman went to a route, got his leg. So I knew the backstory behind it, but how do you breach the subject? And a lot of people that are just watching you, I don't know how often you talk about on your YouTube channels, but if you don't...
No, not often. I've got a tour video. We made a big flat, 2009. That's on my channel. It's basically war porn, basically. Lots of bullets and bombs and stuff. That's on there. But other than that, I don't really talk about it. I do the odd post here and there. The thing is,
there'll be lads that don't know.
No, but they don't know. And some people say you're always wary because it's a fishing channel, and I'm on a fishing podcast, and we're talking about war and stuff, and it's always. But it's part of me, and it's what's made. I'm not Amputee Angler because I just fancied the name. Funny story. I went out one night after I got blown up. I was in a nightclub having a beer in my wheelchair, Halloween, and someone said that's a bit sick, and I'm there. I'm off drugs. I'm a bit tipsy, and he said that's a bit sick, isn't it? I said, so what? In a night, what do you mean, mate? He said, that's a bit sick, isn't it? And I thought he was like, took offence to me having no legs. He said, you shouldn't take the piss out of disabled people.
He thought you were in a Halloween
He thought I was in a Halloween costume. I said, mate, I've actually got no legs. And he's there like staring, swaying, and I lifted him up. And I went, I got blown up, I've got no legs. And he just went white as a sheet and walked off. But you wouldn't know.
That guy felt terrible.
You just, good. Sorry, shit. But you wouldn't know. And like, I wouldn't walk up to someone. When I first went to Headley Court and I saw the injuries, I was like, oh my God, these poor buggers. Not really, I'm one myself, but there was guys far worse than me there. Half their face missing, fingers missing. I come off of it quite lightly compared to some. But you'd never go up with someone. I've been really open to that, and I've spoken about quite a lot of stuff that most people probably wouldn't speak about. But that helps me mentally as well to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it
does. You don't keep secrets. You don't. If you talk
don't
about
bottle
it,
stuff up too much.
No, exactly. And talking about it helps. But I will always talk about it in an open sense. If someone asks me politely, then I'll talk about anything. But there's people out there that will come and go, all right, legless, and they don't know me. And that's when I take offence. If you don't know someone...
I'll take massive offence to that.
Don't go straight in with the whole...
Yeah, that's kind of like really close mates. Yeah. You can say something.
I'll banter about anything. I'm that sort of... I'll banter about anything. But you get the odd one, even online, we'll sit there and make a trying to be funny or maybe try and break the ice. And you think, just stop.
Yeah, stop for that.
Well, I've had a great day. Thank you.
No, mate, I really appreciate you coming down. You've come across really, really well. It's been... How long have you been on for?
248.
Up there. It's up there. Yeah, that's up there with them. That's one of the highest ones. I've been struggling for conversation through any of it.
That's good.
I've super enjoyed it. I really enjoy your content. You come across really well. You come across as a bloke who just absolutely loves fishing. And like you were saying, yes, this is a fishing podcast, but it's not here to be... It's here, like I said in the beginning, to be like you're in the tackle shop. And it's just to carry, or you're sat in the pub, you sat in the pub, someone goes, you got a sidewinder top on. I like a bit of fishing. Next thing, you're 5 pints deep and it's just going backwards and forwards.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to do. It's not...
I'd have had the same conversations in a tackle shop as I've had with you today. And I've had them in tackle shops, the same conversations. Oh, what happened to you? And you just go down a rabbit hole and you talk. Maybe not that as in depth.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of what I like about what you're doing. Is I follow people like Dave Mordecai, Will Parkinson I know anyway, Jake I know anyway, others I haven't watched yet. I get to delve into people's lives who I follow and watch and I respect as fishermen, and I get to learn something. And what you're doing here is bringing all the people together. And just from my point of view for you, is I think what you're doing is amazing. All of you, I think it's brilliant.
Thank you, mate.
You're doing it well, you're doing it good, and I really hope it gets to where it deserves to be.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We never actually launched it, like I said to you. It was a bit of a marketing stunt to start with.
Yep.
But like we've just booked Henry Gilby to come back on.
Yep.
And this time, instead of talking about what happened with him with his heart attack and stuff like that, we're going to do some deep dives into bass fishing. Mm-hmm. We've got Mick Ward coming back.
Yeah.
Because we were so drunk.
Jersey Mick, is it? Is that Jersey Mick?
Yeah. Mr. Fish. Yeah,
Mr. Fish. Yeah.
So.
Thank you for the lures.
Yeah, he won the comp stitch up job. We had 5 pints of Stella in the pub before we even come and sat down here. And we were just going on tangents. He wants to come back and do some real deep dives into
nice.
So I think we're going to start pushing some more of that with it. But sometimes I think people just want to hear the stories behind. Yeah, the person. Thank you. Yeah. Behind the person, behind that YouTube channel, behind that guy on the boat, where they're looking around, looking him in the lock. You know,
it makes it real. It makes it real. And like now, you know,
we're all just blokes. Everyone's like a working class bloke. They just go out. They do it for everybody loves fishing for fishing. Some people get a bit caught up in this sponsorship deal or what this bloke's doing over here. But at the end of it all, we're all just fishing junkies.
All the same.
And there's all these stories that can come out because we sit down and talk about fishing. We hear about, you know, what happened to you in your former life, what happened to this. It's all just because of fishing. That's all it really is.
You strip it back to the bare bones, it all comes down to catching a fish.
Yeah.
It's just people do it different ways, different opinions on it.
One last question then, because you don't like taking fish.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the wrong word. You don't eat fish. Do you do a lot of catch and release angling, or do you?
Yeah, so I try my best to do it, but obviously when you're in certain depths of water, the pollock will blow. And, you know, there's things with descenders and stuff like that. I'm not sold on those. I think unless someone's put a video down and followed that fish or tracked it, I don't know how effective they are. I'm not sure. I think that's more for the angler, potentially, but I'm not against it. But I just don't see how that would work. I put as much back as I can, but the other half eats fish, the neighbours eat fish. And if I've got a privilege to catch one and bring it home, then I do.
Well, okay.
But I'll put most of it back if I can. Probably 90% of it goes back.
That's good.
Which is a high percentage, probably give or take 5%.
Yeah.
But a fair bit of it goes back. I don't take pleasure in killing it. But yeah, apart from that, no, it all goes back. I get just as much satisfaction as seeing it go back. I hate it when you put it back and you want to put it back and it comes up again.
Yeah.
You think, oh no, bugger. But if you don't need to take it, don't. Yeah, there's a big mentality with it. I did quite an interesting post on it a little while back. On it about what it used to be like in the day of people just to take everything back home on charter boats, and even my own boat I had a 30 odd turbot, and every single one come back, and why
people have learned from it though, haven't they? They see the state of the sea, they see what's going on. You know, you can't get away from news of this is happening, that's happening, this is changing. I've
watched people put cod in bins. I mentioned it on the post. We had a day out where we had literally hundreds of cod on a charter boat. And everyone was so caught. Every drop was a cod. If you're quick enough, you had 2 cod, 4 6-pound every fish. 8 people. I think it was 8 or 10 people on the boat all day long. We had hundreds, buckets of them, and the skipper didn't say to stop. Or no one really thought about it. When we got back into the quay, the realisation, not from me because I don't eat it, so I was putting mine back unless someone went, "I'll have that one." When we got back in. You look at the deck, it was that old school charter boat style photo with
up to your ankles in fish.
Up to your ankles in fish. No, I didn't have any ankles, but it was up to there, up to my wheels on my wheelchair. So, you know what I mean? But when they got into the quay, they're suddenly bagging it all up with all their fishing gear. This is a bit heavy, Skip. The skipper was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?"
Yeah.
And we got up to the top of the quay, and they were putting it in the big industrial wheelie bins. Taking 2 home and 10 would go in the bin.
Wrong.
And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we can't keep it. There's loads out there. Don't worry about it." And now there's not loads out there. We're struggling for cod down there.
Oh, so we struggle.
Yeah, it's gone bad.
Struggle. Yeah. There's a few little codling come up and that, but it's not what it used to be. I don't get excited about £4 fish anymore because I've seen them 15, 20, 25s, and certain charter skippers out of our way used to know how to catch cod and had a few 40s, but they might still be there now, but I think the waters are getting a bit warmer and I just don't think they're coming down there anymore.
Well, the mackerel turn up at a later date,
if they're not eaten by the tuna first, it's a funny old game. Seals.
It's changed, isn't it?
The whole thing's changing. The whole dynamic of what's out there, is changing. You've got to adapt to it, and it's just,
Are you going to go for a recreational licence with tuna?
Do you know what? If Jake is mad on it. He is like, "I want big game. I want it, and I want to do it on this," and I respect that. If I learn how to do it, so I'm safe. My main thing is I'm not. Each to their own. Go and do what you got to do. I think everyone should be allowed a shot at it. I think there should be stipulations. You need to have the right gear. You need to pay for a permit.
I've been saying you should have to pay for it.
I think put something on it. It'll stop all the
like a shotgun license.
It'll stop all the yip-yous coming down from London for a day. Let's go get a tuna. And a prime example, I was in Simpsons and. There was a guy, and he was a rep for a company, not a tackle company. He was there for a chandlery, or it was a electronics rep. And we were talking about, randomly got on to seeing tuna off my way, and we've seen some big ones up my way. We were talking about it. He said, I was down in Falmouth the other week, and we were there was a bust up. He said, I saw him and I threw my Dexter wedge over there and I hooked one. And oh my God, it just didn't stop and I had to cut the line. And I was there biting my tongue, and I'm not a tuna fisherman.
So that thing's now swimming around. It'll probably spit it.
But the point is, why try and put a 20-60 gram spinning gear, which is what he was using, and a 80 gram Dexter wedge? At what point did you think that was a good idea?
Maybe exciting for you, but not for the fish.
Now he's got 200 metres of braid attached to it and a Dexter wedge, and even if it shakes the hook, that braid and that it's going to sink down, and that braid's going to flap about. And I just thought, do you know what? And I said when it come about, and there's a few of us talking about trying to have a go for one, but realistically, I want to know how to do it safely, properly. So I'm not going to harm the fish, and I'm not going to harm the boat.
We'll get a. You want to meet Dave anyway?
Yeah.
We'll get it all lined up. Come down.
Yeah, I would like to. Generally, I'd
come down. We'll get you on Dave's boat for the day. Yeah. We'll get it all arranged in.
You're not putting anything on Dave. We haven't asked him yet. But
I don't have to. I don't worry about that. I don't have to.
Dave's one of those. You look at some people, and I would say I fish on a boat to a quite a high standing. I know what I'm doing. I'm competent, and I would be. If I was up against, I don't like competition angling. Not my thing. Got no interest in it. But I would be happy if I could hold my own. But you look at Dave, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
bloke's legit. He's a G.
See, I always knew that, and then the one time I was out and actually saw him fishing in person, we went over with the drone, and I was filming him with the fresher. Was amazing. Like,
it's that thing, when you're playing football as a kid. If you play football or rugby or any sport, play with people better than you because you learn more.
Yeah, totally true.
Don't play to your level or below your level. It's all well and good going banging 10 goals against the under 10s, and you're 15, 16, 18 years old. You're not going to get better. Play with the better people, you learn more. And I'm always looking for people that don't have an ego, don't have any ulterior motives, are nice people that I can go there and go, can you please show me what the hell a top line is for tuna?
Top shot.
I see, there you go. Top shot. What is a top shot? What size hooks we're using? What knot are you using? Why? And it comes back to that ask questions.
Benjamin knot. Google Benjamin.
There you go. All right, a great name. So it comes down to that thing again, asking questions. Yeah. To get answers, and that's the thing in marketing.
What I like about Dave
questions are the answers.
What I like about Dave is he doesn't. I don't think he takes in how good he really is, and he's just like even on his YouTube he says, "Please don't subscribe."
Yeah, no, I know. I've subscribed.
Yeah. Please don't subscribe. Like this is just for me. If you want to watch it, watch it. It is the best marketing strategy.
Don't follow this. It's no good. It's the best video ever.
Yeah. He's a secret genius with it, but he's just a very humble guy.
Just respect the game. I respect his. When someone is doing something consistent, and I said it to Jake when he was getting shit for his poly, I said. Because it got him down a little bit at one point. You can't do this and that boat won't take it. He's like, Ben, it can. And I said, Jake, if you think it can and you can do it, don't do it once, do it 3, 4, 5 times. Because at the end of it, they can't say you can't do it because you've done it. Yeah. And when someone is doing something consistently, it's, what's that? There's a saying, I can't think what it is because I'm stuck in a podcast.
The 10,000 hour rule.
No, it's success leaves clues.
Right, okay.
Success leaves clues. If something is working consistently, it's like when you're on a charter boat and someone starts banging out, they've had 10 fish, and you're like, I know the bite yet. What lure you got on? I'm on a black because it's dark in the morning, it's a bigger silhouette. What you got on? Oh yeah, I'm on white because that's what I caught last week. No, overcast conditions, put a black lure on. Bang, 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 bang. Success leaves clues. And if someone is doing something consistently, catching good fish, different fish, not a one-trick pony, well, they're good. They're doing the business.
Yeah,
I think he's one of those. So
we'll get you down.
Yeah, cool.
We'll 100% get you down. There's still the season runs. We're going to have weather in a minute. To be honest, it'll probably be sooner rather than later. Because
just drop me a message. If I can make it, I can make it. If I can't, I can't. It ain't a problem. I'm not in a rush to do it. If they do, I don't know what they're doing with the licenses next year. Whether people have messed it up and they're not going to do it anymore or what. If they do, I might.
Bloke in Cornwall might have, but you never know.
Well, if they put out for a license, I'll apply. If I get it, then I'll start going. Okay, it's getting serious, and I will.
I think they're going to open it more. We'd like to think they're opening it more. We've heard more rumours and more quota coming in for the commercials next year. They're going to up that allocation. Our ICAT quota is up for renewal in January.
Is it working for the commercial fleet? Because I've heard stories of them about getting £2 a kilo for tuna.
Oh, it's been terrible, some of it, but that's down to. I'll talk to you about some of that off of it because it's political. But last year I fished in it. We did 48% of the quota. So there was a whole bunch of quota left over. This year they added 3 more boats. and took the quota down from 4 tons a boat down to 3.2 tons a boat.
Yeah.
So Joe Lynch out of Plymouth uses my bars. You'll see me sharing his stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen the name.
Yeah, I share his stuff. He caught 3.2 tons in 4 weeks and 4 days. Smashed it. Absolutely smashed it out of the park. There's a guy down Falmouth Way in a yellow Orkney. I think his name's Ant Hill. He does very well. I don't know the guy.
No, I got shown a picture of it the other day asking if I want to go and catch, not on his boat, but I've got someone down in Falmouth who lives there.
Right,
He said, do you reckon you'd have a go at catching a tuna? I said, I'll have a go. I'll try anything. Might pull me in and I'll be water skiing, but I'll have a go. As long as I'm clipped on, I'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll be fine. We'll put a safety line on you. But yeah, Ant Hill's doing very well. The rest of them, I don't know how many are coming out. Some guys, I was talking to Chris Gill the other day, who's out of Mevagissey. He's doing it more, instead of putting them on the quay, he's doing, so a restaurant will ring him up and go, we want X, and he'll go out and catch that and bring it in and sells direct to the restaurants. Couple of guys are struggling. Some of them, I don't even know if they've attempted it. I'll be interested to see how much is actually caught. Because in a minute, instead of this, every year, when we did it last year, there was no guarantee of you getting a license the following year. It was a pilot program.
Yeah.
And then it was oversubscribed, and it's hard to find out why we didn't get it, because we're on a Starfish 8 called the Mary D. Wicked little boat. Wasn't quite big enough, so Colin and Mike invested in Petros Grandes, which is Spanish for massive busts.
Nice.
It's an offshore 32, but it's fully refitted, brand new offshore 32, really. And we got turned down. We put a door in the back of it. This thing's
New engine.
Yeah, new everything.
paint.
Yeah. It looks the absolute nuts, and we got turned down. And the sort of rumour was we're not full-time fishermen. But when we only want to target tuna, and tuna's only a 5-month season, how can you be a full-time
that's the
fisherman?
thing, isn't it?
But some of the guys who lost their pollock entitlements because of the bans, they got it. But there was 5 out of the original 10 didn't get their licences renewed. And then they brought another 3 in, so there's 8 new boats to the fleet for this season. There could be a whole bunch more quota next year. There could be another...
There's a lot of them about. I mean, you see some of them bust up. I mean, you'll see them more down this way. We see a few bust up. But, they go right the way down to Hastings from our way. I think Ant used to charter out of Hastings. He's moved down to Mevagissey now.
I've heard,
down here or whatever. He had a charter back there. I'm sure he's moved down there. That's who you're talking about.
So I was just up in the Isle of Harris chasing tuna around with a guy called Angus Campbell.
Right.
I flew from here, Bristol to Glasgow to the Isle of Harris. He picked me up in Stornoway, drove me right down to the bottom end. He's got this beautiful cat. In Exeter University, we're up there to do a tagging programme.
Right.
And we spent...
Are they getting them all the way out there then?
Well, they're very transitory.
They get them in Ireland, don't they? Around the
they're probably the same fish that are coming from Ireland. There's a very good chance. We need to talk to... I've got Lucy Hawkes, the main lady from Exeter Uni who does all the tagging, is going to come on here. We're now talking on email quite a lot after me being up there.
Right.
They think they're very possibly Scandinavian fish. So our fish...
come all that way.
Well, our fish come out of the Med. They breed in the Med. They come all the way out of the Med, and then they swim up the English Channel because we've got so much bait. They feed on the English Channel, and then they come all the way back through. That's why Portugal gets a double season. They get 5 weeks when they come through, and then they get them going back.
So they're coming up to the south coast and then turning around and going back again.
Yeah, they're going back.
They're not going to go up the east coast of England all the way around.
No, so what
the bass do similar.
Yeah, so what they're thinking is, so we've got Mediterranean fish, they're breeding in the Med. They now also think there's another breeding ground in the Bay of Biscay. Right. So with the fish they've been tracking, there's actually these little yellow, like sonar buoys all over the seabed. And every time this tag goes past it, pings it, tells it where it is, and it goes, tag 8479 is just one from here to here. So they know where that fish is going. It's clever stuff. So there's no... At the moment, we thought that maybe some fish were coming across from Nova Scotia because we've seen...
They caught one, didn't they, over there recently in Norway, didn't they? Not Nova Scotia's totally opposite, but they caught one in Norway, didn't they, recently?
Norway's got its own tuna.
Oh, right.
They've got their own tuna. So we thought we've seen some fish in some places which I won't go into too much because we're doing some stuff with it.
Yeah, fine.
We thought they were coming from Nova Scotia.
Right.
We now, after talking to Lucy, I'm pretty sure they're Scandinavian fish. And instead of coming down the channel and then, getting mixed up with all those Mediterranean fish, there's a very good chance they're coming over the top of Scotland, down our north coast, or even around the back of Ireland, because they're picking them up, like the Bay of Donegal in places
I know
like
they
that.
get them on there,
and then they're swinging around the bottom of Land's End, and they're going up into the Med. And we know that there's some fish somewhere else that are getting picked up and they're a different size of fish, different colour of fish. They're still bluefins, which made us start. That's why I wanted to go to Scotland.
Well, bass are similar. You can look at some bass and you can see they're from a different area.
I don't know enough about bass.
Yeah, well, they tagged a bass recently, and it had done 1,700 miles. It had gone from West Country all the way across over the Belgian way, and turned around and came back.
Had it really?
Yeah, there was a pollock. I sat in on a pollock study about the decline of pollock down 70%, whatever it was, and they mentioned about bass trying to tag these pollock, catching them, putting them in cages to decompress them, a bit like we were talking about with the descendants and stuff, and then sending them on their way to try and track them. And they said they'd done the same with bass, and they showed the migrate pattern of the bass, and they had gone from West Country all the way across, turn around, come all the way back again. And we used to track them when we were drift netting. They used to track shoals of bass. Don't know how they did it, but they had a shoal that was 15 tonne in biomass, and it went all the way up to Dover, turn around, come back, went to the Isle of Wight, and then what they used to do is the drift netters used to track it all the way down to the Isle of Wight, and then it gets so far that it wasn't viable, and it'll be picked up further down. But what it did one year is it turned around and come back and never carried on down West Country. So I wonder what tuna are obviously doing a similar sort of thing. There's obviously rhyme and reason to it.
We've got different pods coming from different places. There's definitely the Mediterranean fish that are coming out of the Med, coming up to us. They're going up like as far as you.
Yeah, well they've seen them in Hastings.
They have one in Yorkshire, haven't they? Well, the guys just
they used to get them in Scarborough, which is way up there.
The Tunny Club. Yeah. That's that book I showed you earlier.
Oh yeah.
I have seen them at Eastbourne. They've been filmed at Eastbourne for the last good few years, and they've also been sighted down in Hastings, which is further along from me. I'm at Eastbourne, so why do they turn around? Would be my answer.
Maybe a temperature thing in the water. Maybe it's just a natural call and it's time to go back down to the Med and breed.
Is it brackish water up there? Dirty water?
Well, I mean, my only thing is it narrows. It goes to Dover to Calais, and it's the narrowest
80
point.
miles, whatever.
And also, them cliffs are quite milky, aren't they? They're quite visual
Yeah, and
fish.
you've got a lot of that point where Dover Calais is, the ferry traffic, the container ships is a lot more. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. But I mean, I don't know enough about it. But I find it fascinating. Like we were bassing the other night, and in the same spot they'd had 20. We went there a week later. Loads of bass. Didn't have a bite all night. And the whole question all three of us bassers were asking was why. What has changed from last week to here? And we think it was a tide size.
Yeah, see, I've got a thing about tides because there's a guy who's got probably the most successful charter boat in the UK. He's very kind to me, lets me jump on the boat. I don't fish, I sit on the bridge. He tells me why he's doing stuff, and he's convinced tide has nothing to do with the fish, but tide has a massive amount to do with bait.
That's what
and like you said earlier, it's either food or sex. So if that bait is just, you've had a massive spring tide and that bait's just been pushed somewhere, well, where do you think then the tuna ain't going to hang around anymore, are they?
It's exactly the theory we came up with, because I'm not going to say where we was, but on a certain tide or a smaller tide, bait can get in somewhere. On this particular night, it was a lot rougher, and we don't think the bait had got into where we was fishing, and that's what they're going to go where the food is. If it's not sex time, then they've got to feed 24/7 or however often they want to eat.
Yeah. I completely agree.
If your McDonald's is shut, but KFC 2 miles down the road is open, you're going to go KFC for your takeaway.
We've been noticing a bit more on the slack tide as well, like that. When it slacks off, we've noticed more bites have been coming around then. I don't know if it stops the bait moving or it's easier to push them up or whatever it is, or maybe the bait goes off, they go off the feed with that and they start turning onto the lures a little bit more. We're still learning, you know.
This is the thing that no app, coming back onto learning fish, no app or anything will ever teach you this. It's stuff that you've got to put the man hours in, put the hard yards in.
It's that 10,000 hours thing you've got to be
That's the joy
out
of fishing as well, isn't it?
But then someone will go, well, tell me how you catch that tuna. You're going to put all them hours in, all those, and then someone will go, give me that bar.
Anybody can set a set of bars out the back of the boat, in time around at 4.5 knots, and you will get strikes of fish. But when you want to start singling out bigger fish, or when you, like, we've now got it, we come out and we're like, right, okay, we know where we're going to start with, we know where the bait's going to be, we know that we're going to find fish in a certain spot, and you start dialing that process in more and more and more. Again, that's why I like being the group. We've got the boys that are casting, we've got live bait, and we've got the bars going on. We're covering all angles of what we're doing. The lads have done some really, I'll tell you about it off air, but they've done some really interesting stuff with casting in working out. They were having some problems casting it a certain way towards the tuna, and now they've worked out from some of the drone footage that you've done, if you come about when they're washing machine, if you come about them from a different angle and try casting a different spot, your hookup rate is a lot better.
Trot it back almost in the tide.
I'll tell you off there because I can't ruin it for the boys.
Oh, yeah.
Because
No, no. Don't.
I don't do it, and this is information that they're just giving me, and I can't throw them under. Well, not throw them under the bus.
I don't want to know. Unless I know the better.
They probably wouldn't even care, but yeah, there is. But just from being out, putting that time in, because those boys haven't dragged the bar all year. All they are doing is hilarious, man. He's got this Warrior 175 in a 165, and we'll be fishing, like we're towing a bar. We're like, oh, they're over there, and I line the boat up with the bars, and whah, in comes this 165, and they're primed with their rods as they come up. They just hit the brakes and like. Psh.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd love to do that.
It's hilarious.
Imagine.
I'm waiting for me rod to turn up. It should be here in a minute.
I'm waiting for my license to turn up.
I'm joking.
I'll get it.
We will go
I'll
on
get
to
that
it.
one
Right.
day. Yeah, no.
Right, we were going to finish.
Yeah.
Ben,
Yeah, mate.
thank you. It's been amazing.
It has.
We're going to have you back at some point because I'm sure there's some other stuff we can do.
Anytime
We're
you want.
definitely going to get you out with Dave.
Look forward to it.
Aaron, you done all right?
Yeah, nice to meet you, pal.
Thanks, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
You were you're pretty good
Pretty
at Danny.
nervous,
So
to be honest with you. I don't like being in front of the camera.
you like being behind it, don't
behind
you?
the camera.
Well, you might stay like that because you're crap. Yeah. So thank you for listening. Hit some subscribes. Hit some likes. If you don't, I don't care. Do what you want. I've had fun chatting about it. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.